A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio.
And now, Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and what it means to be the wife of a famous star. Now that Larry Noble is far away in Hollywood making a picture, wealthy Rupert Barlow is making the best of his absence by devoting himself to Larry's wife, Mary, while she's convalescing from acid burns on her hands and face at a New York hospital. Rupert has learned from the doctor in charge of the case that Mary will more than likely recover without serious scars. And this, plus his long unavailing infatuation for her, has spurred his interest anew. If he can possibly create a misunderstanding between husband and wife, now Rupert feels is the time to do it. And so far he has managed to cause some concern at the hospital by veiled hints of disunity to Dr. Allen. And meantime, Rupert is having Larry carefully watched by an investigator every minute of the day and night in Hollywood. Right now, in the hospital, Dr. Allen is talking in the corridor to Mary's nurse, Miss Clark.
We must keep a careful watch over Mrs. Noble these next days, nurse. Nothing must happen to disturb her peace of mind.
I'll do everything I can, Dr. Allen. I guess we all will here in the hospital. Everybody thinks she's put up such a wonderful fight.
I have reason to believe that her face can be healed without serious disfigurement, but these are vitally important days. Any great emotional upset might be disastrous. Although I want her to use the muscles of her face to a certain extent, any sudden contortion caused by grief or shock might have a damaging effect.
So far as I know, there's only one person who could give her any real worry.
You mean her husband?
Yes, Dr. Allen. Honestly, it's a crime the way that poor woman waits for a letter from Mr. Noble. And for the first few days after he got out there to Hollywood, he didn't even write. Just one little wire, that's all.
I don't understand. I'll never be able to understand why he was persuaded to leave his wife's side at this critical time.
Because he's just a selfish person who doesn't care about anybody else, that's all. Just makes my blood boil. The way Mrs. Noble worships that man, and he just isn't worth it. What kind of man would leave his wife the way he did? I think it's a disgrace.
You must be very careful not to let the patient see any of this, Miss Clark.
Oh, don't worry, Doctor. But it's a good thing she has that wonderful friend, Mr. Barlow, to comfort her. He's been perfectly lovely about visiting her every single day. And the flowers and presents he sends.
I have noticed Mr. Barlow is here quite often. He's spoken to me about Mrs. Noble several times. Seemed very much concerned.
If you ask me, I'd say he's a lot more concerned than her own husband. He's just crazy about her, Dr. Allen. I never saw anything like it. Oh, I wish she'd give up that actor husband of hers and marry Mr. Barlow. She could have anything in the world. Anything.
You'd better not let your imagination run away with you, nurse. Just keep a careful watch these next days and let me know if symptoms of depression occur.
Oh, I will, Doctor. You can count on me.
Very well. I may stop in later if I have time.
All right, Doctor. I'll go and see Mrs. Noble now. Well, now, aren't you about ready to take a little rest, Mrs. Noble?
And in Hollywood, we find Larry on the lot at the Marco and Franklin studio. During another long wait between shots, as the crew sets up the lights and cameras, the eager young actress Dora Dean once more approaches Larry and says,
Gee, but you were good in that last scene, Mr. Noble.
Oh, well, thanks, Dora. Although how you can tell anything from just a few minutes of action and dialogue, I wouldn't know.
I bet you're going to be a big hit. If Mr. Marco's as good a director as he says he is.
Now, shh. Do not say things like that, my dear. You might be overheard.
It probably won't make any difference anyhow. I don't think I'll ever get anywhere in pictures.
Oh, nonsense. Give yourself a little time.
I just can't see any future for me. When I was just a stand-in, I used to think if only I could get just a few lines, I'd be happy. But it's just as bad now. Hanging around day after day, and what do I get to do? Couple of walk-on scenes.
Oh, don't be so gloomy, Dora. You'll get there. I'm convinced of it.
I wish I had talent like you, Mr. Noble. The way you take hold of a scene, it's just wonderful. I wonder if I studied with a real actor, if I could ever get to be good.
Well, you're good right now, Dora. Just wait for the first break. After that, it'll be clear sailing. You'll have people following you wherever you go, begging for your autograph.
Now I know you're kidding. Say, I saw you drive in through the gates this morning in a snappy new car, after you said you didn't have one.
Oh, that's just a loan, Dora. My good friend Tom Bryson insisted that I use it. He's the famous playwright, you know.
Oh.
I wouldn't have accepted the car, but I've decided to leave my hotel and find someplace more modest. And since I don't know where to look, I guess the car will come in handy.
What kind of a place do you want, Mr. Noble?
Oh, just a small room and bath. You see, I've got to save every penny that I possibly can while I'm out here.
Well, gee, if you want me to, I could maybe help you find a place. I don't want to sound like I was trying to butt in, but I do know my way around Hollywood pretty well.
Oh, I think that's very nice of you, Dora. And I'll be glad to take you up on it. Maybe, if you have time, I could pick you up this Sunday.
Oh, swell. I'd love it, Mr. Noble.
You just tell me where you live, and I'll try to find my way.
Oh, no, it's better if I take a bus in. Meet you downtown. I'll show you where, and then you won't have any trouble.
I don't like to do that, Dora.
Oh, honest, Mr. Noble, I don't mind at all. Now, look, I'll write it all out for you, and if you drive down to the bus stop, I'll be there anytime you say.
Good. Give it to me later. I think they're getting ready to shoot another scene.
And back in New York, Rupert Barlow is in the office of Irving Morse, private investigator. And as Morse finishes reading the last part of a report, we hear...
Picked up subject in Marco and Franklin Studio, 625. Followed in car, driven by Marco to corner of Hollywood and Vine. Subject got out, hailed cab, drove to Beverly Hills. Subject ordered dinner, sent to room, left hotel 817. Took car from garage, drove to Knickerbocker, parked in lot. Visited suite occupied by Bryson, a friend. Left 1029, picked up car, returned hotel. Mr. Barlow, there it is. That's the whole story.
It's not very much so far.
Yeah, you're right. Mr. Barlow, I guess you expected something a little different, huh?
You quite sure your operatives are dependable? Or do they just make up a story and turn it in?
Oh, my boys are the best in the business.
All right, I just wanted to make sure.
Now, what do you want me to do? Should I call off one or two of the boys, cut the expense sheet down a little? Huh?
No, just tell them to keep on, for the present at least.
Okay, Mr. Barlow, it's up to you. Only if you was to give me some idea what to expect, I could do it.
I told you, Mr. Morse, I only want Larry Noble shadowed, and his actions reported to me. That's all. You can send the next reports to my apartment. Good day.
Okay, Mr. Barlow, anything you say. Oh, here, let me open the door.
Oh, I can get it.
And about an hour later, Rupert Barlow appears at the hospital, where he's shown into Mary Noble's room. His expression shows nothing of his recent irritation at the detective's reports, as he says,
Hello, my dear. I hope I haven't disturbed your rest.
Not at all, Rupert. I'm glad to see you. I was sitting up for a long time this afternoon, and I only got back here in bed because my nurse insisted I should.
And quite right. You don't want to overtax yourself right now.
Oh, I feel so energetic. I feel as though I could walk right out of here and get on a plane for the coast.
Now, Mary, I know it's difficult for you to be patient. But surely you know, my sweet, that these last few days are very important. I've been talking a lot to your Dr. Allen, and he stressed the need for quiet and peace of mind.
I know. I promise you I won't do anything foolish. And besides, I haven't much longer to wait.
Oh, what do you mean?
Dr. Allen is going to remove the bandages. And he's promised to let me see the result of all this waiting.
Oh, that's strange. He hasn't said anything to me about this.
Of course not. This is something just for my doctor and my nurse and myself.
Now, when did he say he'd remove the bandages?
Sometime tomorrow. Isn't it wonderful? I've been begging him for days to let me know what to expect, but he refused. He said I must wait till the proper time. But today when he was here, he promised to let me see.
Oh, I'm so glad for you, Mary, my dear. Have you mentioned this to your husband?
Oh, no, of course not, Rupert. I only just found out a little while ago.
But you could get a message to him if you wanted to.
I'm not going to say anything about it until I've seen the result.
Well, suppose... Not that I like to say this. Suppose you weren't entirely satisfied.
I'm not going to think of that, Rupert. I'm just going to wait.
Bless you, my dear. You're such a brave, wonderful person. I hate to have you go through this ordeal without someone at your side. I'd gladly arrange to be here to give you whatever moral support I could.
Thanks just the same, Rupert. It's kind of you, but I don't want anyone with me, no one at all. I only want to know what I can hope for, so that I can start to plan the future course of my life.
Rupert Barlow is somewhat uneasy at Mary Noble's words. he wonders if Dr. Allen has given him a false idea of how this case would develop. Be sure to be listening tomorrow to Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and her husband Larry Noble, famous Broadway star.
The story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a homicide detail. An attractive blonde secretary is found beaten to death in a downtown office building. You've only one lead to start with, a length of steel pipe wrapped in heavy paper. There's no trace of the killer. Your job? Get him. Why are thousands and thousands of king-size cigarette smokers switching to Fatima every day?
Because in Fatima, the difference is quality.
You see, Fatima contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild, to give you a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
So compare Fatima yourself today.
You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Remember, Fatimas cost the same as the cigarette you're now smoking.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Next time, buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, September 28th. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the crime lab, and it was 11:48 p.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide. Romero? Ben? Hey, Romero?
Not here. You, Friday?
Oh, yeah. Lopey, how are you? You seen Romero around the last half hour? Supposed to meet him here.
Well, he's come and gone. Still around the building, though. Got a call.
What was it about, do you know?
Yeah, I was on that killing tonight. Call came from one of the cruiser cars checking the neighborhood down where it happened.
Yeah? Did they find something?
Picked up a guy about 3 blocks from the murder scene, acting suspicious. Men in the cruiser car figured maybe you'd want to talk to him.
They're bringing the man in now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You been over checking with the crime lab?
Yeah, there's not much. The murder weapon's about all we got so far. It's a piece of pipe with heavy manila paper wrapped around it.
Uh-huh. Latent prints do any good?
Yeah, they lifted a lot of fingerprints. They all belong to the victim. None of them are foreign.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you got a toothpick, Joe? And corn on the cob from there.
No, I haven't. Why don't you try the top drawer over there in Mike Pena's desk? He usually has
Oh, yeah. Thanks. I understand it wasn't much to look at, the killing, I mean.
It was a pretty vicious thing. The girl took a terrible beating.
Oh. Who found the body?
One of the scrub women in the building. It was an office up on the 9th floor, import-export company. Victim was a secretary there. She's a pretty girl.
Mm-hmm. She dead long?
Must have happened around 7 o'clock tonight. That's my figure. It's just a guess.
Uh-huh. What's the girl's name? Been identified yet?
Yeah, Adele Pryor. Her boss is out of town. She was working in the office alone. There was no one suspicious seen entering or leaving the office around the time of the murder. There's no one we know of, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of checking. Yeah. Any idea what the motive could have been?
Well, it wasn't robbery. They didn't keep any cash in the office. As far as we know, the girl wasn't carrying much money. We'll start making the rounds in the morning, checking with her friends, see what we can pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Friday, you on?
Yeah, I'm right here. Back here, Ben.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi.
Hi. They bring the guy in, Ben?
Mm-hmm. Lopey brief you about it, Joe?
Yeah, a cruiser car picked up a suspicious-looking guy near the murder scene. Is that about the size of it?
Little more than that. They found the man beating his head against a brick wall in a back alley about 2 blocks from the office building where we found the body. Guy'd been drinking heavily, and when they picked him up, he's pretty far gone. Kept mumbling something about how he didn't deserve to live, how he's a murderer, killer. Not too coherent.
They asked him about the dead girl, Adele Pryor?
Yeah, but the stuff he said didn't make much sense. He sobered up a little since he picked him up. We might as well see what we can get out of him before we book him in, huh? Got him in the interrogation room now.
Okay. Give it a try anyway. Any calls come in, you know where to find us, Lopey.
Yeah, sure, right.
Thanks a lot.
You checked with the crime lab, Joe?
Yeah, about all we're sure of is the murder weapon. No prints, no other physical evidence.
Maybe it won't matter. Got half an idea we might have the killer now.
The guy they picked up? How'd he figure?
Just a hunch. I don't think he's as drunk as he pretends.
Well, we're going to have to place him a lot closer to the murder scene than 2 blocks away. You can't prove a thing the way it stands.
I was downstairs when they brought the man in. I talked to him while they were bringing up to the interrogation room.
Yeah.
Told me he knows the dead girl.
All right.
Said he was with her an hour before she died.
Shortly before 8 o'clock that night, a scrub woman in a downtown office building near the intersection of 8th and South Grand Avenue entered an office on the 9th floor of the building to do her usual cleaning chores. Lying face down behind a desk in the small office, she found the body of 28-year-old Secretary Adele Pryor, beaten to death. When we arrived at the scene, routine investigation began, but almost immediately we found ourselves down a blind alley. Repeated questioning of all persons in or about the office building failed to turn up anything in the way of leads. Thorough investigation of the murder scene with the crime lab crew met with the same kind of luck. They knew they had the murder weapon. That was all. The deputy coroner arrived and removed the body to the morgue for posting. At 10 o'clock that night, 3 hours after the approximate time of the Pryor girl's death, officers in a cruiser car patrolling the area found a drunken man butting his head against a cement wall and muttering incoherently about a murder. He was picked up and taken immediately to the interrogation room where Ben and I questioned him. We'd talked to him a full hour before he began to make sense. He gave his name as Robert French, age 34, an unemployed electrical engineer. While we questioned him, 2 men from homicide were sent to check the hotel room where French told us he was staying.
I don't know. I guess I had 3 or 4 drinks at Dusty's place, and I went down the street to the Blue Canary, had some more drinks there. I don't remember what happened after that. I wasn't feeling so good.
You say you were drinking at Dusty's place around 7 p.m., is that right, Frank?
Suppose so. I wasn't watching the clock. I guess it was around 7.
Well, did you talk to anybody while you were in the bar?
No, just the bartender. His name's Sarge. I don't know his last name. He'll tell you I was there.
What time was it when you got to Dusty's place, French?
I couldn't tell you for sure. About 6:30 maybe. Sarge could probably tell you, the bartender.
When you were coming up in the elevator, you told us you knew Adele Pryor.
Yeah, I knew her. Used to work for her husband. Or ex-husband, I mean. They've been divorced 7, 8 years now.
Mm-hmm. You said you saw Adele Pryor in her office late this afternoon, French. What was the reason for the visit?
I borrowed a couple of dollars from her. She was always pretty good that way. Nice kid. Don't know why anybody'd want to kill her like that.
Well, how about the show that you were putting on out in the street tonight, French? Beating your head against that wall? What was that all about?
Drunk. Really drunk. Felt so low I wanted to kill myself. Just lay down and die.
Well, how's that? You remorseful? Felt sorry for something you'd done?
I don't know. I don't think of any special reason for it when I get that way. I just keep thinking I want to die.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't got the nerve for it, though. I know that, like my old man always used to tell me, I haven't got the nerve to do anything right. Just wasn't born that way. I guess that's it.
Do you use narcotics, Frank?
No, I haven't even got the nerve for that. Booze, that's all. It's good enough for me. Say, you think we could go out for a cup of coffee? Maybe I could use it.
We'll have some brought up, huh? Ben, do you mind going down the hall and check with Lopey? Ask him to have some coffee brought up, huh?
Yeah, okay.
And see if those 2 men have checked back in yet, will you?
Right.
Appreciate it, Sergeant. Sure gonna be mean when all this booze wears off.
I'd like to ask you a little more about the Pryor girl, French. Just how well did you know her?
Not too well. Guess I used to see her maybe once a month.
Mm-hmm. Up there at her office?
Yeah, that's right. She was a nice girl. Whenever I was broke, I could always depend on her for a couple of bucks. I liked her. She was a nice person.
Did you ever go out with her?
No, never did. No romance stuff. I didn't like her that way. She was just a good person. We got along okay.
Mm-hmm. No cigarette?
No thanks. Mm-hmm. Mouth's full of cotton already.
Mm-hmm. How about this business of Adele Pryor lending you money? She think quite a bit of you?
Well, I did her a couple of favors once. When I was working for her husband, she was still married to him. She was going out with a guy she liked on the side. She was out with this guy once, and I saw them together. She asked me not to say anything, so I didn't. Before she got a divorce, I used to cover up for her all the time. She never forgot it, I guess.
Uh-huh. How about when you saw her in her office tonight, French? How'd she seem? All right to you?
Yeah, same as ever. I asked her if she could lend me a $5, and she did. I left. It was about 6:15, I guess.
There anyone else in the office when you left?
Yeah. There was a guy waiting in the little reception room there. Didn't know who he was.
You remember what he looked like?
Well, tall fella, about my size, my age.
Uh-huh.
Joe, can I see you a minute?
Yeah.
Dorothy and Brian have checked in. They just got back from going over French's hotel room.
They find anything?
White shirt, a pair of brown shoes, a pair of dark trousers.
What about them?
Blood stains on all of them.
The stained pieces of clothing found in the suspect's hotel room were delivered to Lieutenant Lee Jones at the crime lab for detailed examination. Coffee was brought in, and Ben and I continued to question French until about 4 a.m. He denied any knowledge or complicity in the killing of 28-year-old Adele Pryor. He told us the blood-stained clothing in his hotel room was the result of an accident he'd been in 2 weeks before when he'd been drinking heavily. He was checked through R&I while we talked to him, but he had no previous criminal record. French kept insisting that we check on the tall, dark-haired man who'd been waiting in the reception room of the Pryor girl's office the night before when French left her. We gave the description of the suspect, along with the M.O., to the stats office, requesting them to furnish us with any information regarding any assaults or any solved or unsolved murder. At 4:15 a.m., we booked in Robert French at the main jail on suspicion of 187 PC, murder. The next morning at 10 a.m., the legwork began. Lopez and Doherty from Homicide started checking on the background and alibi of the suspect, Robert French. It didn't hold much water. None of the people at either of the bars where French said he'd been drinking at the time of the murder could definitely vouch for his presence, but they all volunteered the information that no matter how much he drank, French was never violent toward other people, only himself. Lopez and Doherty continued investigating the suspect while Ben and I checked on the background of the victim, Adele Pryor. At 8:25 p.m., we got back to the office.
Hi. Been waiting for you, too.
Hoping? You and Doherty do any good?
Nothing to celebrate over. Long day, tired feet.
What'd you find out, Lopey? Anything new at all?
Oh, maybe French is our man. Can't prove it by me. Every place we checked, everybody we talked to, same answer.
Yeah?
He's a smart guy with a good education. He's on the bottle and he's out of work. Everybody seems to like him. He gets drunk, but he never bothers anybody. That's about the worst anybody can say about him. Drinks too much.
Well, how about his being friends with the dead girl? Did you dig up anything there?
Yeah, it only proves he was telling you the truth, though. As far as we could find out, there was nothing going between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we got only verifies what he told you. He had no interest in the girl except a bar offer when he was broke.
You got in touch with the girl's ex-husband, did you?
Yeah, he couldn't add anything. All clear there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, by the way, here, Lee Jones called from the crime lab just before he came in.
What did he have, Lopey?
Finished testing the blood stains on those clothes they found in French's hotel room. None of the stains on them match the victim's blood type. It's another dead end.
Yeah, it's sure hard to figure. You got anything else, Lopey?
Oh, yeah.
You've got me stuff.
A report for you from the stats office.
Oh, thank you.
He asked to make a run for you last night, didn't
Yeah, I did.
What's it look like?
Just a minute. Yeah, well, it doesn't help much. Looks like more legwork.
What's that, Joe?
Well, French told us when he left Adele Pryor last night, there was a man in the reception room waiting to see her. He gave us the guy's description, and the stats office made a run on it for us. This is the best one they got.
Yeah?
The guy's name is William Tanner, WMA, 33 years old, 6'1", 195 pounds, dark hair, dark complexion.
Fits the description French gave us of the guy.
The rest of it's a lot closer to home.
How do you mean?
William Tanner was a prominent suspect in the Donaldson murder last September. Testimony of friends and relatives subsequently cleared him. Donaldson's murder is still unsolved.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the point?
Well, the same thing that killed Donaldson killed Adele Pryor.
What do you mean?
Piece of steel pipe wrapped in paper. To the working detective assigned to examine a criminal case, the element of coincidence, when it occurs, generally serves to complicate any investigation. Toward the solution of the crime, coincidence may mean a lot or it may mean nothing. In any event, it can't be dismissed. This time we had two examples of coincidence to deal with. A girl had been beaten to death in an office building. Within 2 blocks of the murder scene, we found a man fairly well acquainted with the victim who admitted seeing the girl within an hour of her death. Primary investigation uncovered some facts which tended to incriminate the man, some facts which tended to prove him innocent. Was his presence in the immediate neighborhood of the killing only coincidental, or was he there at the particular time for the purpose of murder? We didn't know. By the same token, a man by the name of William Tanner was suspected 1 year before of beating an elderly woman to death with an identical murder weapon, a length of steel pipe wrapped in paper. This same person, William Tanner, matched the description of a man reportedly seen entering Adele Pryor's office shortly before she was murdered. Tanner also had a criminal record of 1 conviction for assault. Maybe it was a lead, maybe it was nothing. It had to be checked out. We showed Tanner's mugshot to our first murder suspect, Robert French, but he failed to identify it. We went to William Tanner's last known address, but he'd moved. We checked with his next of kin, his brother, Martin Tanner. He was with the city fire department. We found him on duty at the neighborhood fire station on Norwich Avenue.
No, I'm afraid not, Sergeant. I haven't seen my brother Bill in 3 weeks now. If he's not at his apartment, I couldn't tell you where to find him.
We tried the last address we had on him. He wasn't there. 8625 Norman Road?
Oh, no. He moved out of there 6-7 months ago. I got his new address in my locker. I can give it to you if you want.
We'd appreciate it, yeah.
Okay, back this way and then upstairs.
All right.
What's it about, Sergeant? My brother in some kind of trouble again, I guess, huh?
Oh, it's just a routine check.
You sound like you almost expect your brother to be in trouble, Tanner.
Well, to tell you the truth, I guess I do. I don't know what... Excuse me a minute. No, it's not our call.
Well, how would you mean that, Tanner? What's happened to your brother?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't know. Bill and I used to live together with our mother. Ma died about 2 years ago. I don't think Bill ever really got over it. He was a lot closer to Ma than I was.
I see.
After she died, he drank quite a bit for a while, then he tried women, lots of them. After that, he turned to religion. We thought that'd help. It would have, too. Except that he's an odd guy. He even finds ways of distorting the Bible. I guess he's still pretty religious. He goes to all the revivals, the tent meetings, all that kind of thing.
Uh-huh. Do you know any of his women friends?
Yeah, I do. 2 or 3 of them.
How about the name Adele Pryor? Does that mean anything to you?
Would she be kind of a pretty girl, blonde hair, nice clothes?
Yeah, that's right.
Have you met her, Tanner?
Yeah, Bill had me meet her once. He seemed to like her quite a bit. Why?
Was he pretty serious about her, or would you know that?
Yeah, he was serious about her, all right. He told me that. I don't think it worked both ways, though. Looked to me like she was playing the field. Bill took it way too serious.
How do you mean?
Well, they went together steady for a while, and then they broke it up. She did, I mean.
Mm-hmm. How'd your brother take that?
Not so good. I remember the night about a month ago. Never saw Bill like that before. Real bad shape. Wasn't drinking either.
Is that so?
Never saw Bill like that in my life.
Like what, Tanner?
Off his head. He could have gone out and killed a girl.
Before we left the fire station, we got William Tanner's new address from his brother Martin. It was the same address as that of the murdered girl, Adele Pryor, an apartment house close by the intersection of Wilshire and La Brea. Tanner's apartment was on the 3rd floor, just down the hall from the Pryor girl's apartment. But Tanner wasn't there. The apartment manager told us he'd moved out the night before without leaving a forwarding address. Ben put in a call to the suspect's place of business, an industrial chemical company, where Tanner was employed as assistant office manager.
What was the reason, sir? Oh, I see, Yeah, well, all right, thanks very much. We'll be checking with you later. Bye.
What'd they say?
Tanner left yesterday, quit without giving any notice. Told him he had a better job lined up.
Where?
South America.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. If you smoke king-size cigarettes, listen to Fatima's amazing new offer.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness and superbly blended tobaccos.
If you don't like Fatimas better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, return the pack with the unused Fatimas and we'll give you your money back, plus postage.
We make this amazing offer because we believe Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes.
Smokers all over the country are confirming this every day.
Here is the latest state-by-state report.
State 1, Fatima sales up 72%. 2, sales up 54%. 3, sales up 107%. 4, sales up 192%. And those are just a few.
Remember, if you're not convinced Fatima is better than your present king-size cigarette, just return the pack with the unsmoked Fatimas before December 1st and get your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1. Buy Fatimas, best of all king-size cigarettes.
Saturday, October 1st, 8 a.m. We got out a broadcast and an APB on murder suspect William Tanner. We checked with the local U.S. State Department office, but they had no record of granting a passport recently to a William Tanner to travel in a South American country. We talked to the various consulates in the city representing South American nations, but none of them had issued a visa to a William Tanner recently or anyone answering his description. Together with Brian and Lopez from Homicide, Ben and I continued the search for the missing suspect. The deeper we checked into his background, the more we became convinced that mentally, Tanner was far from normal. Most of the people who knew the suspect told us the same story his brother had given us. In recent months, Tanner had taken strongly to religion. He attended revival meetings and similar religious exercises every night in the week. He talked nothing but repentance. He quoted the scriptures constantly. He adopted the habit of carrying a Bible with him wherever he went, reading from it aloud every chance he got. He kept urging his friends to join him in being saved. On Monday, October 3rd, we began a check of the various revival halls. On Wednesday, October 5th, we found him. He was attending a gospel revival in a meeting hall in the south end of the city. He told us he had a room in a small hotel directly above the meeting hall, but he seemed reluctant to take us up there. While Lopez and Brian got a pass key from the manager and went up to check the room, Ben and I questioned Tanner downstairs in the lobby of the meeting hall.
I'm sorry to hear about Dell. What happened to her? It's a terrible thing, isn't it?
Yes, sir. We understand you knew Adele Pryor fairly well, Mr. Tanner. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I liked her quite a bit at one time. We used to see a lot of each other. I was engaged to her, you know.
Well, how is it you never married, Tanner? Did she break off the engagement?
No, I was lucky. I found out in time. I broke off with her.
Well, how do you mean you found out in time? What'd you find out?
I found the truth, Sergeant, the everlasting word. But know this and understand that no unclean person or covetous one has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and God. For these have given themselves up in despair to sensuality, greedily practicing every kind of uncleanness. Do not then become partakers with them. That's the everlasting word, Sergeant, the Holy Book.
Yes, sir. I'm not quite sure I follow you.
Open your eyes and ears to the everlasting word, and you will know and understand all things. It's very simple, officer. I don't want to say anything uncharitable about her. Adele wasn't for me. I'm glad I found out in time, that's all.
Mm-hmm. When's the last time you saw her, Tanner? Do you remember?
No, I don't. Not exactly. I think I saw her a week or so before it happened, before they found her dead.
Where was that you saw her?
How's that?
I say, where was it the last time you saw her?
On the street. It was downtown somewhere. I passed her on the street.
You used to live in the same apartment house she did, isn't that right? Just down the hall from her?
Yes, sir, I did. Why?
And for a full week you didn't happen to see the Pryor girl around the apartment building at all?
No, that's right. When I broke off with Adele, that was it. I had no reason to see her anymore.
Well, it's not too clear, Tanner. It doesn't jibe with what we've been told about you and the Pryor girl.
Well, the lies, of course. I suppose you know that. Adele was a beautiful girl, very beautiful. A lot of men she knew were jealous of her.
Well, the way we understand it, Tanner, you never did break off with Miss Pryor. You were going around with her, and you were seen with her right up to the day of her death.
Well, that's certainly a lie, and I can prove that as soon as I found out about Adele. That was weeks before she was killed. As soon as I found out, that was the end. I broke off with her right away.
I'd like to know what you're referring to, Tanner. You found out what?
Adele, she was one of those.
Huh?
I'm sorry, she was. The sinner. I almost went out of my mind when I found out. She knew it was wrong. She must have known. It was right there in the book for anybody to read. Do not let sin reign in your mortal body so that you obey its lusts.
Now, look, Tanner, what are you trying to tell us?
It was terrible. She sinned all the time. She committed terrible sins. Will you come into this side room over here? I can tell you all about her. I'd just as soon not talk about it here.
Sure, go ahead.
In here.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Just one question before you get started, Tanner.
Yes?
Did you ever visit Adele Pryor at her place of business downtown at her office?
No, I never did. Why?
Did you visit Adele Pryor at her office the day she was killed?
The Lord is my witness, Sergeant. I have nothing to fear. Why should you ask me that question?
We have a report that you were seen going into the office less than an hour before the Pryor girl was murdered. I'd like to have you clarify that for us, if you would.
Certainly. It's a lie.
You're sure you weren't in that office with her just before she died?
Well, let me tell you about her sins. There was never anything as evil as this, Sergeant.
Is that right?
Yes, it was a terrible shock. I liked Adele. I think I loved her. We'd been going out for 2 months. Sometimes I'd take her here so that she could learn about the everlasting word, so that she could know about the terrible sins some people commit. Oh, drinking and parties and carryings on. Things no one should do, especially girls like Adele. Beautiful girl.
How can you be sure she was doing anything wrong, Tanner? Do you have any real proof of that?
Everything, Sergeant, I knew. Just knowing that she was sinning against the Lord.
Did you know any of the other men she went out with?
They were sinful, I knew that. They only liked Adele because she was beautiful.
Did you know any of the men, Tanner? Did you know for a fact that there was anything wrong?
I knew everything, Sergeant. She was a beautiful girl, and I thought she was a woman of the Lord, and I wanted her for my wife. But she gave in to sin.
Now, I guess that's her business, Tanner, how she lived. We're trying to find out how she died.
Well, just let me tell you about it. I'd lie there in the dark in my room upstairs, and I'd wait to hear her come in down the hall. It was always late. 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning I'd hear her come in.
You still haven't told us, Tanner. What about the men she went out with, this Pryor girl?
Slaves of the devil, every one of them. I thought I'd go out of my mind.
All right, now, come on. You want to tell us, mister? How about it? Is that what made you do it?
No, wait a minute. You don't want to wait to listen. You say made me do it. Made me do what?
I think you know what we mean, Tanner. You want to tell us now?
It's a terrible thing. All this sin around us. It's a grave thing. The whole world. There is not one just man. There is none who understands. There is none who seeks after God. There is none who does good. No, not even one.
Their throat is an open sepulchre. With their tongues they have dealt deceitfully. The venom of asps is beneath their lips. Their mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Destruction and misery are in their ways, and the path of peace they have not known. There's no fear of God before their eyes. No fear of God.
Yes, sir. We'd still like an answer to our question. Maybe we could talk a little better downtown.
The wisdom and the knowledge is here and now. I knew Adele and her terrible sins. They had to be paid for. Adele had to pay for every one of them.
You want to get to the point, mister. Now, what is it? What are you trying to tell us?
The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the charity of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Amen. So she sinned and so she died.
Yeah.
In the name of God and in the name of our Lord. Amen. I killed her.
William Harold Tanner was brought downtown immediately, where he volunteered a complete statement admitting full guilt for the murder of Adele Pryor. Blood-stained clothing found in his room corroborated his story. It was obvious that the man was mentally unbalanced. He gave us the details of how he murdered Adele Pryor because she spurned his attentions. We began questioning him about the Donaldson murder, which had taken place more than a year before and which was still unsolved. The victim, 64-year-old Louise Donaldson, had met death in the same manner as Adele Pryor.
No, I didn't know the old lady, but she had money. I've been told that. I was broke and I needed the cash, so I thought it'd be a good thing.
This was in September a year ago that you murdered her.
Yes, sir, September, all right. She was all alone. She didn't have anybody. She was sick. I probably did her a favor.
Your package here says that you figured in the investigation on the plot to blow up the Rexmore Hotel about 3 years ago, homemade bomb planted in the basement of the hotel?
Yes, that was mine 3 years ago in September. Never could have traced it. Too bad the bomb didn't go off. I hated those hotel people.
Is that right? What was the matter?
I worked at that hotel once, you know. Worked hard, too. One Saturday, they held up my paycheck. I didn't get it till next Tuesday. Never forgot that. September.
September. Now, what's that got to do with it?
I don't know, really. September's always been the time, that's all. I work into some kind of trouble. Last 4 years, every September. I don't know what it is. Seems to be the best time to get rid of them. Yeah, September. It's always September.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really want to kill Adele. There wasn't anything else I could do. She was a sinner.
Yeah.
Drinking, running around. She committed sins all the time. Worst kind of sins. Terrible.
Let me tell you, maybe you better check the book, Tanner. You're way ahead of her.
What do you mean?
What kind of sin's worse than murder?
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On January 10th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, I'd like to remind you once again of Fatima's new offer. Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness. See if you don't like Fatimas better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking. If you don't, just return the pack with the unsmoked Fatimas and we'll see to it that you get your money back, plus postage. Fair enough? Remember, more and more smokers all over the country are switching to Fatima. I'm convinced you will, too, because I sincerely believe Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes. Buy Fatima.
Further investigation proved beyond a doubt that William Tanner, besides murdering Adele Pryor, had also taken the life of 64-year-old Louise Donaldson the year before, and that he was responsible for the attempted bombing of the Rexmore Hotel the year before that. After examination by 3 psychiatrists appointed by the state, the suspect was found to be sane at the time of the murders. Tanner was convicted of first-degree murder and received the death penalty. He was executed in the lethal gas chamber at the state penitentiary, San Quentin, California. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, next on NBC.
Pier 23. You know, the only time San Francisco really gets hot is when a tourist calls it Frisco, and then it gets warm enough to give a sleigh dog a southern accent. Down around the waterfront, they don't care so much. And for $1, you can insult anybody but Joe DiMaggio. The piers stretch out like a big yawn from south of the ferry building clear to the China docks. You're pushed over on one side so you won't notice. About the same spot you'll find dust in a bride's parlor. You find Pier 23. From there, it's a short skip to Johnny Modero's boat shop. My place. The sign outside looks honest, but down here the only sign people pay any attention to is rigor mortis. I rent boats and do anything else you can blame on your environment. It works out all right. But pretty soon word gets around you got a reputation. It doesn't pay to argue, because even if you're leveling, you make as much headway as a whistler with a split lip. I found that out last Wednesday afternoon. I was looking out the window watching the tide come in when somebody in back of me coughed. When I turned, Nat Finley was standing there in the office. He didn't say anything for a minute, and you noticed his eyes were as soft as the inside of a woman's arm. They had one of those faraway looks you couldn't follow with a road map. And then I saw the rest of him. He wasn't flabby, but he was on the way. And you got the idea he was an ex-fighter who settled down with a restaurant.
I got the right place, haven't I?
If a woman screams you haven't, what's on your mind?
That's a good question, Modero. That's a good question. That's what I want you to find out.
Look, fella, maybe I don't even want to be friendly. What's on your mind?
I don't know, Modero. I don't know.
All right, you convinced me. Now back out of here and we'll both be in the dark. Huh?
Wait a minute, Modero. Listen to me. My name is Nat Finley. My wife and I live up on Nob Hill, and I've been retired for a while, see? And...
I don't, but go ahead.
Well, you gotta help me, Modero. I'll pay you $50 a day to help me.
At that price, it won't be help.
I want you to find someone for me. But I don't know who or why, yet.
We're back to that again, huh?
Oh, listen to me. Lately, a name's been ringing in my ears. Just a name. Pete Sutro. Pete Sutro. Over and over again.
So you read it somewhere?
I don't know where I picked it up. For the last week, the name Pete Sutro has been on my mind. It's a nightmare. You got to do something about it, Modero.
Change your diet. That might help.
I want you to find Pete Sutro. Find out who he is, where he is, why he's bothering me. If you do, I'll give you a $200 bonus.
Look, Finley, is this a job or a career? There must be a dozen Sutros from here to Jersey City.
Maybe, but the Pete Sutro I want lives right here in this town. He's got to.
There's a law?
Now, listen to me, Modero. Last night, I kept hearing the name Sutro again. Only this time there was an address, too. It was care of General Delivery, San Francisco. So he's got to be somewhere in this town.
Why don't you check the phone book?
I have, and the city directory, too. But so far, I haven't been able to locate him.
Then I will, huh?
Well, if you don't, you're still getting $50 a day. What are you worried about?
That $50 a day? It might turn out to be a dream, too. You better throw in some advance money.
Well, sure, Modero. I brought a check along, just in case. Will $100 cover your doubts?
Yeah, if the bank can cover your check.
If they can't, you don't have to do the job. That's fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
Will you start looking right away?
Yeah.
But you got to be careful, Modero. My wife's never to know about this, understand?
Why?
Because, well, she doesn't like the idea. She thinks I'm a little crazy looking for a name like this. She hates me, I think. She thinks I'm crazy.
Don't worry about her, Finley, until she starts mixing your nightcaps. For $50 a day, I'll chase anybody's dream. Because with that kind of dough, you're rich enough to run down a couple of your own. When Finley left, I called the bank and found out his check had solid backing. So I went down to Lofty's and I put out some feelers on Pete Sutro. It didn't take long before one of the boys came up with a lead. A couple of other people were looking for Sutro, too. One was a guy named Marty Kane. The other was a torch singer named Evelyn Day. The word was that Sutro and Evelyn used to trade mash notes in Detroit. Well, I phoned the Jade Club where Evelyn was working, but she wasn't due for an hour, so I decided to give Marty Kane the first try. He was living in a motel out in the marina, so I went out. There was a sign outside that said modern cabins, but you knew Abe Lincoln did better in Illinois. The cabins were the size of an upper berth with enough holes to start a punch board. That didn't leave much privacy. You had more chance of keeping a secret from Matt or Harry. I asked the manager where Kane's place was, and he pointed to the end cabin. I went over and knocked on the door. Kane opened it and glared. His eyes were the color of Saturday night on a week-old jag, and he was so chunky you figured he'd be harder to move than an icebox through a basement window.
Who are you?
My name's Modero, Johnny Modero.
Don't rhyme with anything. What are you looking for?
A guy named Pete Sutro. I hear you got the same idea.
So you got ears. I'll invite you in.
I can't turn you down.
Yeah, that's what everybody says about this gun. Now sit down. You get me nervous.
Put away the gun and we'll both be calm, huh?
After you tell me what you know about Sutro.
I'm tracking down a dream.
Yours?
A client's. You sound anxious. What's your pitch?
A wild one. Just say he owes me some dough and I need it bad now.
You got the muscles. Take in laundry.
I'll put you through the ringer first. I want to lead on Sutro.
Yeah, we both do, but I'm not going down on my knees.
Get up, Modero. I don't want to make a liar out of you again.
You're tough, Kane. I'll bet you got your dander scared stiff.
Yeah, and I'll start on yours now. What's Sutro to you?
$50 a day. A guy named Nat Finley hired me to track him down. Does that make you happy?
No, just ambitious. Who's Nat Finley?
He came in and paid me to find Sutro. He said the name was giving him nightmares.
Sounds like a bedtime story, Modero.
Well, if you don't like it, jazz it up. It's the truth.
I read the wrong papers. Give me another version.
All right, if you don't believe me, Kane, make up your own. Here's Finley's check. Can you read?
If you'll help me with the big words. Give it here. Nat Finley. Yeah, Nat Finley. You weren't lying. Looks like a good check. I'll take a chance. I'll cash it for you.
It's giving you IDs, huh?
Yeah, and the first one's about you. Well, here's your dough, Modero. Now get out. Get out quick.
Oh, you're too good to me, Kane. Suppose the check bounces.
It won't, Modero, because I ain't going to cash it.
Oh, I couldn't figure it. Kane looked at the check and smiled like a guy who just learned all about the atom bomb. I walked out, and the only thing I knew for sure was the demand for Pete Sutro was big enough to start a business boom. I headed back to my apartment to see how much lip I could bring down with an ice bag and a little pressure. When I got there, the door was open and the light was on. Inside, things looked even brighter. The brunette was draped over the couch like she paid the first installment on it. She was about 25, with a pair of legs that would have made a silkworm turn over and write a fan letter. She wore a tan business suit, and the way it was rumpled up, you knew office hours were over. When she saw me, she began to vibrate like an alarm clock at 6 in the morning.
Good evening.
I won't argue, but you got the wrong room.
Will I regret it?
I don't know you that well.
Oh, you'll catch up with the crowd. My name is Sheila. I'm Nat Finley's wife.
You should be somebody's wife. It cuts down on the risk.
I want to talk to you.
Go ahead. I'll try not to stare.
Let's have a drink first, Mr. Modero. Maybe it will cloud your vision.
Yeah, and the issue, too, huh?
You serve strong stuff, Mr. Modero. Soda?
I'm all charged up now, lady. What's on your mind?
I have a problem. Maybe you can help me.
Maybe it's too late. I'm listening.
It's about my husband, Nat. He tries, but he can't hide much from me.
Now that you have the same trouble. Look, lady, you're working too hard for a sale. If you got a point, make it.
All right, Mr. Modero, we'll skip the intermission. My husband saw you tonight and sold you a wild story.
Yeah, but it paid off. So far, I'm not complaining.
But I am. I want you to drop the whole silly job Nat gave you.
You're not building a case. $50 a day buys a lot of hangover, lady.
You don't understand, Mr. Modero. My husband is a sick man.
Yeah, I know. He can't sleep at night.
He has a large imagination, and it's been getting worse lately. He, dreams up things. Sometimes I think he's a little crazy.
Maybe it's a hobby. He can afford it.
There are some things even he can't afford.
Yeah, like finding Pete Sutro.
That's right, Mr. Modero. There is no such man.
A guy named Marty Kane will give you odds.
Who did you say?
Marty Kane. He cashed in your husband's check, you know?
No, I never heard of him.
You don't sound so sure. Marty was talking about Sutro.
All right, Mr. Modero, I'm talking about something else now, money.
So far, you're whispering.
Shouting, Mr. Modero, $500 worth. I'll give you $500 to drop the job and forget everything.
All right, baby, you twisted my arm.
You won't let me down, Mr. Modero. Will you?
If I do, it'll be nice and easy. Finley had the kind of a wife you mate with a panther. She picked up her purse and peeled off 500 fish. She wasn't talking anymore, and when she swayed out, you wondered how much night practice she'd given that rumba. Well, I was all washed up with the Finleys, and felt good already. So did the dough. I felt like a guy whose name was just picked in a chain letter. My mind was free for the better things in life. So I called up a girl out on Van Ness and told her to meet me at the Regent Bowling Alley. I got there before she did, so I started warming up the alley. A few minutes later, it got a lot warmer because Inspector Warcheck of San Francisco Homicide began spoiling my game.
Hello, Modero. It was a nice strike.
You're in the wrong kind of alley, Warcheck. What do you want?
Some pointers? You got time?
No.
I can see how you hold a bowling ball. Now show me how you hold a gun, huh?
All right, Warcheck. What's on your mind?
I was on Marty Kane's.
A guy named Pete Sutro. He owed Kane some money.
And you paid off?
I paid him a visit. We had something in common.
And you must have bored him to death. Kane couldn't quite stand a couple of slugs in his forehead, so he quit.
Well, what do you want me to do, Warcheck? Break the news to his wife?
No. Just tell me about the argument you had.
It was a monologue. Kane wanted to know where Sutro was hiding. I only knew one answer, so he did all the talking.
Oh, you should have said please. It's not polite to interrupt a guy with a gun.
Look, Warchick, what makes me the blue plate special?
The motel manager, he said you go into Kane's room, and then he heard a struggle, and then later on he heard a shot.
Did he hear who won the fourth? Listen, copper, a guy named Nat Finley hired me to find out who Pete Sutro was. The name was playing tag in his brain all week, and he wanted to know why.
Yeah, does that sound like a story?
Check with Finley. He's the guy who made it up.
What if he lets you down?
And work on his wife. She's not bad looking, and she paid me to drop Finley's account.
I'll check both your alibis, Modero. In the meantime, I want to line you up.
While you're making the rounds, look up a gal named Evelyn Day. She knew Sutro, too.
Go ahead. Run the police force. Tell me what to ask her.
Forget it, Warchick. You're not the type. Warchick stood there for a second, wiping his teeth with his tongue. If he'd done it on the outside, it would have been a contract job. And then one of the bowlers in a tight pair of slacks brushed up against him and went out. He looked at me once more and headed after her. Well, I didn't feel much like bowling either, so I left a note at the desk for the girlfriend and started out. I knew I was in trouble. Some days it's harder to duck trouble than a handful of pebbles. No, I told myself I didn't kill Kane, but that was like trying to fight a fire with an anti-smoke law. The big question was Pete Sutro. Who was he? There were other questions, like why did the Finley dame buy me off? And why did her husband want Sutro in the first place? Well, there were no answers, and I felt about as safe as an alligator walking through a handbag factory, so I looked up the only good guy I know, a waterfront priest named Father Leahy. I found him in his room flipping through a couple of raffle books.
Hello, Johnny. You're just in time to buy a ticket. The boys' club is raffling off an electric toaster.
I'm already a little burned, Father.
I'm in a spot, Johnny. The boys gave me a quota to fill. I got stuck at a banker's luncheon all afternoon. You know what they're like on risk.
Yeah.
I've got to sell some tickets.
All right, I'll buy a couple, but I need your help. I'm in trouble.
You'd better buy 5. At a time like this, both of us can afford to be generous. What kind of trouble?
This won't take long, Father.
You always say that, but it adds up. You don't realize it, but I lose whole weekends that way.
Will you please listen, Father? Warchick wants to pin me down on a murder.
He's got the weight. Who's dead?
A guy named Marty Kane. I saw him a couple of hours ago, and he was still alive when I left.
Can you prove it?
Well, that's going to be tough. The clerk at the motel saw me go into Kane's room just before he got tumbled.
So far, you don't have a way out. Why not plead insanity?
I would, but I'm afraid of the competition.
What do you mean?
A muddled-up guy named Nat Finley hired me to chase down the name Pete Sutro. He claimed the name was haunting him.
I know how he feels. Johnny, I don't think the bishop likes me either.
My only lead was Marty Kane. He seemed to want Sutro worse than I did.
Sutro is certainly popular for a dream. Do you think he'll ever materialize?
I don't know, but I don't think Marty Kane was killed over a dream.
If he was, it must have been quite a nightmare. Did you look up your client again?
I didn't have the time. His wife paid me to drop the whole job. She said Finley was a harmless duck with a pail full of wild ideas.
Does the husband feel the same way about his wife?
Do you want gossip, Father, or do you want to help me?
That's an unfair question, Johnny. Either way, I'm embarrassed.
Please, Father. Will you check up on a few people for me?
Yes.
Look up Kane's friends, and if you run out of those, try his enemies. Find out who might have had an urge to kill him, will you?
It's a tall order, Johnny. There may be a lot of people involved.
I can use them all, Father.
I know. But can they all use an electric toaster?
When I left Father Leahy, I knew I still had one base to tag. It was Sutro's ex-flame, a doll named Evelyn Day. I drove down to Eddy Street and I parked near the Jade Club. Well, it's not a bad place, but on a slow night, even the winos are afraid to go in. Inside, it was dark enough to hide the decimal point on a check, and over by the bar, there was a piano playing music that nobody was listening to. And then Evelyn came out. And right off, he started hunting for the nearest fire exit. She had red hair about this side of 98 degrees, and she wore a black evening gown that held up by one strap and a prayer. She was the kind of a girl who could wear a Mother Hubbard and make it look like a negligee. And when she sang, it came out low enough to strike oil. After she was through, I asked the bartender to give her a message. She walked over to me, and she wasn't happy one way or the other.
Are you the man who wanted me?
One of them. You're Evelyn, huh?
Yeah. What'll it lead to?
A crisis if you don't sit down.
All right. You've got me interested. Now, what's on your mind? That we can talk about?
My name's Modero. Now, let's start with a friend named Pete Sutro.
Let's continue. What do you want to know about him?
Where is he?
Are you a cop, or will you pay for the right answer?
I need too many of them, baby. I'm way out ahead in the murder derby, and I'll pitch homicide anybody I can get.
What do you want Sutro for?
I think he shot Marty Kane.
Someone should have. But you're betting on the wrong horse.
You're prejudiced. Sutro was your boyfriend.
That's right. He was my boyfriend. But I haven't seen him lately.
All right, then. What was the last thing you did with him?
I'll read my diary to you someday.
Now, look, baby, you got a choice. I'm going to rough you up or let the pros do it.
Let go of my arm, Modero. Or I'll call a bouncer.
Call Sutro. Now, start talking before I bruise you up good.
Slow down, Modero. You're out of my weight class.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what you want to know.
Should I take notes, or is this going to be quick?
I don't know. Depends on how sentimental I get.
That's all right. I got a handkerchief.
Okay, I'll tell you. I used to be Pete Sutro's girl in Detroit. Then one day he skipped out and left me hanging on the vine.
Don't worry, baby. You haven't withered yet.
I started looking for him, and so did Kane.
Why Kane?
He and Pete had a deal together. Pete ran out with all the dough.
Your boy should have run for Congress. He's got a nice record. What kind of a deal did he have with Kane?
I don't remember.
All of a sudden, huh?
I'm shy when it comes to strangers. Let's just end it by saying Pete disappeared.
Let's say you're dummying up.
I love Pete, and I wouldn't want anything to happen to him.
Do you carry a picture with that torch, baby?
Sure. Want to see? Here's a snapshot of Pete in my locket. Do you know him?
Not this season, no.
I want him back. He was a good guy.
Yeah, your boy worked up a lot of people. He made #1 nightmare for a guy named Nat Finley.
I heard. And I want to see Finley, too.
You saw me, miss. But I want to talk to Modero.
Hello, Finley.
I got to see you alone, Modero. And I got to see you now.
You lost your option. I'm freelancing again.
Well, you can't walk out on me.
This is going to hurt, fella. Your wife paid me to drop the job.
That's what I got to talk to you about, Modero. I think she wants to drop me, too.
Finley grabbed me by the arm, and you could tell he was scared. His jaw was shut tighter than a wall safe, and his Adam's apple rode up and down like a yo-yo. Evelyn wanted to compare notes with him on Sutro, but right now Finley was as friendly as a no-limit poker game. He hustled me out of the Jade and into a waiting cab. He wouldn't say anything because of the driver, so he sat in one corner, rubbing his hands and looking straight ahead. When we got to the office, Finley paid the bill, and we went up the ramp. Inside, he had a little trouble getting started, like a big family leaving on a picnic. And then he got his voice.
I'm in a bad spot, Modero. I need help.
Have you tried classified?
I'm trying you. I tell you, my wife's out to get me. She keeps telling me I'm crazy. She's trying to talk me into it.
A lot of wives feel that way, Finley. She'll get over it.
Yeah? Well, Modero, she's trying to send me to an asylum. She and Sutro.
You got enough worries to start a peace conference. What brings Sutro back into the headlines?
I found a letter in Sheila's purse. Kane wanted $10,000 from Sheila to keep quiet about Sutro.
All right, quit crowding me with ghosts. So your wife had a past.
And she and Sutro have a future unless you help them. Help me, I tell you. Sutro's behind the whole thing. He and my wife must know each other, and they're trying to get rid of me.
You're getting a complex, Finley. Slow down.
Well, you got to help me.
Well, who's going to help me? I got a murder rap to beat.
Oh, but I'll clear you, Modero. I'll clear you if you help me now.
You couldn't clear your own throat in an empty tunnel. What makes you 8 feet tall?
This gun in my hand.
Well, stop pointing it, fella. You're too nervous to aim.
Well, you don't understand, Modero. I'm not pointing it at you. I'm giving it to you. This is the gun that killed Kane.
You were there when it happened?
No, but either my wife or Sutro was.
When did you dream that up?
An hour ago. I found it in my wife's closet. 2 slugs are missing, and I got a feeling it killed Kane.
Send it to homicide. They'll let you know who did it by return mail.
I can't, Modero. I can't just yet. I don't know whether Sheila or Sutro did it. I got a feeling inside. You've got to find Sutro, or he'll end up killing me yet.
That's a prediction?
Wait a minute. Someone's coming down the hall. Hide the gun, Modero. They're after me now.
Yeah.
They got the light fuse.
Lay low. They're aiming for something bigger.
What are you going to do, Modero?
Just waiting for something to happen.
Ooh! Modero. I guess it happened.
Somebody turned a flashlight in my eyes and then hit a 4-bagger. If they hung around, they could have seen me do a couple of quick quivers a chorus girl would have been proud of. I laid there in the dark for a while. If you're going to look messy, a blackout isn't a bad place to do it. After a while, I tried to get up, but my stomach felt as empty as a horse laugh at a funeral. I sprawled out again, and I tried to figure how a name like Pete Sutro could start so much pain. Then the lights went on. They should have stayed off because Warcheck was breathing over me like a steam engine with a broken heart.
Hello, Modero. Does the light bother your eyes?
Yeah, Warcheck. Get out of it.
Get used to it. It's a lot stronger down at headquarters. Tell me about the gun on the floor.
I heard you were coming. I wanted to commit suicide.
You didn't try hard enough. Just got a phone tip that said you had the gun that killed Marty Kane. Hand it to me.
All right, Copper, I'll make it easy for you. Finley left the gun here before somebody sapped me.
Uh-huh. Who's somebody? Don't any of your friends have names?
Sure. Check with Finley. He was here when it happened.
It was dark, Modero. How did he see? With an electric eye?
I don't know. Maybe he smelled his wife's perfume. Look her up, too.
Is that interesting, huh?
Kane used to think so.
What do you mean?
It was blackmailing her.
Look, Modero, a grocery list is blackmail to you. What put you on the inside?
Finley found a letter in her purse. Kane wanted $10,000 to keep quiet about Sutro.
Finley told you all about it, huh?
He can't keep a family secret.
And the wife tumbled Kane to keep him quiet. Is that the idea?
Well, this is your good day, Warcheck. Find Sutro now, and you've licked the whole thing.
No, you find him, Modero, and we'll give you a reward.
You're too generous. What's the pitch?
Sutro's wanted for a payroll robbery in Detroit. He's been out of sight for a year now.
He hasn't been out of mind, though. Finley thinks his wife is carrying on a sideline with him.
Look, Modero, I talked to your boy, Finley. He's got enough dreams to start a mattress factory. I don't believe him. I don't believe you.
You don't believe the world is round. Take stock, Warcheck, and start learning.
Yeah, I will. Let's see how much the fingerprints on this gun teach me. You've got a story? I'll stay after school.
You'll still wear the dunce cap.
That's all right, Modero. There'll be a badge on it.
Warcheck wrapped the gun up in a handkerchief, and if it killed Marty Kane, I might as well start writing letters to the governor. The gun was a plant, but I had about as much chance of selling that to Warcheck as a pair of short pants to a reform school. Warcheck stood there and smiled, and then he walked out. There were a lot of questions again, like who sapped him, and did Finley really have a story? The more I thought about it, the more snarled it got. And then the phone rang. Yeah.
Hello, Johnny. This is Father Leahy. Are you still free?
Yeah, but I'm breathing hard. How'd you make out?
Fine, Johnny. I sold 10 raffle tickets.
What'd you find out?
Warcheck just got a teletype. Sutro pulled a payroll robbery in Detroit. They think Marty Kane helped him.
Well, that figures. What else?
Sutro and the dough are supposed to be somewhere in town.
Yeah, even the bloodhounds are worried. How does Sheila figure?
She and a girl named Evelyn were both in love with Sutro. But rumor has it that Sutro's favorite was Evelyn.
What about Finley?
Sheila must have got tired of sharecropping, so she settled for Finley. They both came in from Detroit about a year ago.
But, Father, it's still fuzzy. Marty Kane was blackmailing Sheila because of Sutro. There must be a tie.
Evelyn's asking the same question, and she thinks Sheila knows the answers. She's on her way to the Finley place for a showdown.
Thanks, Father. I'll tag along and grab a seat on the sideline.
It'll be a free-for-all if those two girls tangle.
Don't worry, Father. They won't get in my hair.
Don't be too sure. Samson had trouble with one girl.
When Father Leahy hung up, all the pieces began to fall into place. All but one. Where was Sutro? He was around somewhere, but it was like throwing a headlock on a shadow. I grabbed a cab out to the Stafford Arms, and when I got there, the doorman looked at me as if I'd just blown up an orphan. I took the elevator and got off on the 6th floor. Then I leaned on the doorbell, and Sheila answered. She was wearing a pair of rose-colored lounging pajamas, and I've seen baked potatoes with lucid jackets. She must have been surprised, but she didn't blink an eyelash.
Are you pausing or opposing, Mr. Modero?
I'm looking for trapdoors.
Oh, well, if you're going to look that way, come inside.
Yeah.
Now bring that gleam in your eye over to the fireplace. They'll warm it up a little.
It won't look good in company.
Why? Who's company?
Evelyn's a little late. She got tied up sharpening her claws.
Evelyn who?
Hold out, baby. She's got a better question than that.
Like what?
Like, where's Pete Sutro? That key sounds like a friend.
That's too early. That's probably my husband, Matt.
Oh, hello, Modero. I'm glad you're here. Somebody's been following me.
Oh, you're dreaming again, darling.
You see? What did I tell you? It wasn't a dream. That must be her.
Hello, Sheila. Remember me?
You must have the wrong place, lady.
That's the right idea. I want Pete Sutro back.
You want too much.
I'll grab anyway. I've come for Pete, Sheila.
You came too late. He's dead. Pete Sutro died 2 years ago in Detroit. You hear me? He's dead.
Not dead enough. You're lying, Sheila. Pete Sutro is standing right behind you.
What do you mean? That's my husband. That's Nat.
So you gave him another name and another face. But you can't give him another voice. That's Pete Sutro.
What are you talking about? What are you saying? I'm not Pete Sutro.
Don't you remember me, Pete? I'm Evelyn. Oh, what did they do to your face, darling?
My face? I was in an accident. It's hard to remember things.
Remember the payroll robbery, Pete? You were supposed to come back to me.
Payroll robbery? There was an accident, and I was hurt. I can't remember anything else. It's so hard to think. Well, you were there, Sheila. What happened?
Go ahead, Sheila. Tell him what happened. Tell him that he's Pete Sutro. Tell him that you stole him from me. Tell him that you killed Marty Kane.
All right, Evelyn. I'll tell it to you first. It was a good campaign, but I'm voting you down.
Put away
now.
the gun. He won't stand for it.
He's henpecked now.
What are you doing, Sheila? You'll hurt him.
I'll try.
You shot her. You shot... Evelyn.
Please. You remember me. She broke us up. For good. But you remembered me.
Yeah. I remembered. Evelyn. I'm beginning to remember a lot of things now.
Then forget him, Ned. Just you and me now. We're married.
You married a guy named Nat Finley.
Stay away from me, Nat. Nat.
Try Pete. See how it sounds. Give me the gun, baby.
Let go.
You killed Evelyn.
Let go. You didn't need her.
Not anymore. I got the gun now.
No, please, Nat. Please.
Tell me it's a dream, baby. Tell me I'm crazy.
You are, Nat. You are. Get out of my way. I'm getting out of here.
You're not quick enough.
The gun's empty now.
Yeah. So's everything. I'm tired, Modero. Tired.
Hold out. It's going to be a long trip.
Yeah. I told you, Modero. Pete Sutro was going to kill me in the end.
Yeah. You talked yourself into it. Warcheck got the whole story the next morning. Seems that Sutro and Kane were in a big robbery in Detroit. The plan was for Sutro to carry all the dough and meet Kane and Evelyn at their hideout. But Sutro got smashed up in an auto accident and never made it. Sutro's face had to be remodeled, and when he lost his memory, Sheila made her pitch. She promoted a wedding and cut herself in on half the stolen cash. Changed his name to Nat Finley and brought him out to San Francisco. Kane and Evelyn got wind that Sutro had taken off to the coast, so they followed. They couldn't find him, and for a year, Sheila and Sutro got along without a hitch. And then Sutro began hearing his real name in his own mind, and before Sheila could do anything, I'd already shown her husband's check to Kane. He recognized Sutro's handwriting right away, and so he started to blackmail Sheila. He didn't make any yardage because Sheila stopped him with a .38. And then she tried to convince her husband that he was crazy. Evelyn won in the last round when she recognized Sutro's voice at the Jade. Turned out that Sutro had been chasing himself until he caught himself. Well, Warcheck asked only one question. How can a guy forget his own name? I don't know. A lot of hotels would like to know that, too.
Johnny Modero, Pier 23, starring Jack Webb as Johnny Modero, has been presented by the Mutual Network. Johnny Modero is written by Herb Margolis and Lou Morheim. Gail Gordon played Father Leahy. Bill Conrad played Inspector Warcheck of Homicide. John Garfield played Nat Finley. Others in the cast were Gene Rogers, Joan Banks. Original music was composed and conducted by Harry Zimmerman, and the entire production was directed by Nat Wolff. Tony Lafrano.
This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
To hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to auto theft detail. A gang of criminals masquerading as legitimate auto dealers start to work in your city. Innocent people are cheated out of thousands of dollars. The thieves are clever. They work a foolproof formula. Your job? Stop them.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, February 19th. It was chilly in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of auto theft. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Nelson. My name's Friday. We were on the way out from the office, and it was 10:25 a.m. when we got to the corner of 38th Street and Maxbury Avenue. The Greenleaf Day Nursery School.
Mrs. Palmer, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Just a minute. I've got it written down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me, ma'am. What's the fellow
Palmer?
Policeman, Martin Romero, Friday.
Oh, yes, Carl. Going to get all about it. Is that it?
Yes, ma'am. We've been handling similar complaints the last month or so. We'd like to have you tell us everything that happened in your case, if you would, please.
One of the most underhanded things I've ever heard of, Sergeant. It would have been the same thing if he'd held me up with a gun, just out-and-out robbery.
Well, could you give us some of the details, ma'am? How you were first approached on the deal?
Excuse me a minute, please.
Children, time to go inside now. We're going to color pictures with the crayons this morning. Mrs. Johnson has them all ready for you inside. Bruce, Michael, Sandra, go along now. Inside, everyone.
Certainly wish the warm weather to hurry up and come. Children always raise such an uproar when we have to keep them indoors. Worst part of running a day nursery, the winter months.
Yes, ma'am, I suppose so.
Now, about your automobile, Miss Palmer, we understand you had it up for sale. You advertised in one of the local newspapers, is that right?
Yes, that's right. I ran one of those 3-day want ads over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I thought I'd get more for my car if I sold it myself. I mean, instead of selling it to a used car lot.
Yes, ma'am. How many answers did you get on your want ad?
Well, just the one way it turned out. This man came out and looked at my car first thing in the morning. He offered to pay me exactly what I was asking for it, so I sold it to him. That's just the way it went.
Who was this man, Mrs. Palmer? Was he representing some auto company?
Yes, he said he was anyway. He gave his name as Joseph Newhall. I've got his card inside. Said he was a buyer for Dan Barton's used car lot on South Cat Street. Nicely dressed man. He made it all seem so honest.
How was the deal arranged? Could you tell us? I mean, transfer the car, payment, and so forth?
Well, he gave me a check for $50, sort of a down payment to hold the car for him. It was a certified company check.
I see.
He told me he'd be back that afternoon with a certified check for the full amount of the car, $800.
Did he take your car with him then?
No, he didn't. That's why I had no reason to be suspicious. He left me the check for $50 and said he'd be there with the money. Said in the meantime, one of the employees from the used car lot might be along to pick up the car to save me the trouble of driving it downtown myself.
Mm-hmm. Same M.O., Joe, all the way.
Yeah, looks like it. Well, how did it go after that, Miss Palmer?
This worker from the used car lot came to the house to pick up the car about 1 o'clock that afternoon. Gave me a check for the full amount of the car, and I gave him the pink slip. Had a pair of white coveralls on, lettering on the back of them, Dan Barton's used cars. Looked like a typical mechanic or something. I wasn't the least bit suspicious.
Mm-hmm. How about the buyer, this Joseph Newhall? Did he show up later in the day?
No, he never came back. I've never seen him since. Haven't seen my car either. I called that Dan Barton's used car lot the next morning, and they told me they never heard of Joseph Newhall. Just made me sick, officer. I can't afford to lose the money I had in that car.
Yes, ma'am, we understand. The same thing's happened to a dozen people like you around the city.
Do you remember what this man Newhall looked like, Miss Palmer? His physical description, maybe the clothes he was wearing?
Yes, I've got it all written down, Sergeant, in my diary. Would you like to step inside, please? I've got my little office at the back of the school here.
All right, thank you very much.
I always make a record of everything in my diary. I've kept one ever since I was a girl in college, every day.
I suppose you've got all the information on your car, the make, license number, things like that?
Oh, yes, indeed. I got everything together I thought might help you. Right up these stairs, please.
Thank you. Go ahead. How about the description of the man in overalls, the one who came to pick up your car? Would you remember him, ma'am?
Yes, I've got that for you, too. Everything I thought would help. Just have a seat there, officers. I've got the things in my desk here.
Thank you,
Right ahead. Thank you.
I wouldn't mind the whole thing so much, but as I say, I can't afford to lose the cash I had tied up in my car.
That seems to be the way the thieves operate, ma'am. They've been cheating the people who can least afford it.
Terrible thing, just out-and-out robbery. There you are, Sergeant.
Thank you, ma'am.
There's the description of my car, license number, all the rest.
Yes, I see.
And here's the description of the two men. That Joseph all the coveralls who picked up my car.
Have you got that deposit check Newhall gave him, Miss Palmer, the check for $50?
Right here, Sergeant. I saw that company about it, Dan Barton's used car lot. Forgery. Not worth the paper it's printed on.
Mm-hmm. Have a look, Joe.
Yeah, thanks.
Same as the others.
One thing I don't understand, how those crooks get these checks to begin with. Did they steal them?
No, ma'am. We figured they had them printed up. We're still trying to find out where.
Well, you know what the men look like. You'll be able to find them now, won't you?
Only wish it worked that way, ma'am. We've had good descriptions on both men for a month now. Hasn't helped too much.
I don't understand it at all. As I say, they're only common crooks. They can't be that smart, can they?
Well, there's only one way we can judge. We've been hunting every day for a month now.
Yeah?
They're still... In the space of 33 days, the auto theft gang had victimized a dozen private citizens throughout the city. In each instance, the approach and the method of operation had been the same. The front man for the gang would personally answer a want ad inserted in a local newspaper by a private citizen advertising the sale of his automobile. The front man would represent himself falsely as a buyer for Dan Barton's used car lot, a well-known and legitimate used car dealer. He'd offer to pay exactly the sale price which the private party was asking. As a deposit, the so-called buyer would leave a counterfeit company check for $50 or $100 with a promise that he would return later in the day with a certified check for the full amount. After a few hours, another man posing as an employee of Dan Barton's used would call for the car and drive it away. Neither the car nor the so-called buyer were ever seen again. All efforts to trace them went for nothing. 11:40 a.m. Ben and I went back to the office and got out a broadcast and a supplementary APB on Mrs. Palmer's car and also on the phony car buyer who called himself Joseph Newhall. After lunch, we met with Sergeant Humphrey, one of the other 4 men out of auto theft detail who were working the case with us.
How'd you make out this morning, Army? That didn't go anywhere at all?
Wasn't bad as far as it went. We found the place where they had the printing done.
Yeah, where was that?
Small up in the valley. Printed up the phony checks with that heading on it. Dan Barton's used car lot. Got out some business cards for him, too.
What was the name? Did you find out?
Yeah, same one, Joseph Newhall. He ordered the checks and the business cards. Printer described him for us, same guy.
Where's it go from there?
No place. The printer told us Newhall had a car. He couldn't give us a license number. Couldn't even remember the make or the body style. Thought it was a late model car, that's about all.
Well, that's not much help.
No address on him either. It was a will call order paid for in cash.
This is if Newhall comes back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's covered. I don't figure there's much chance Newhall's going to do that. He ordered enough checks printed up the first time last him a year.
Well, I guess that's one lead we can forget.
How about that special run the stats office made for us yesterday? Anything come out of that?
No, nothing. All the possibles on the list were checked out, all of them clear. Nothing from Barton's used car lot either. Everybody on their staff's been checked out, all their ex-employees, too. No sign any one of them might have had a hand in it.
Yeah. Oh, either of you seen the captain since this morning?
No, why?
Well, that idea we were talking over at the last meeting, he figures we'll go ahead with it this weekend.
How's he figure on working, Army? Personal contact?
Yeah, that's right. Most of the private parties who want to sell their cars themselves use that want ad deal over the weekend. They get a special ready Saturday and Sunday.
I know.
Thursday night's the deadline for having the ads in if they're going to run the full weekend. And that's when we start working on it.
We get in touch with every private party who's filed a want ad for the weekend advertising the sale of their car, huh?
Yeah, we'll contact them by phone, every one of them. We advise them that if anybody representing themselves as a buyer for Dan Barton's used car lot answers their want ad, they're to get in touch with us right away. If they can't stall the man long enough, we tell them to accept the information on the man the car is driving.
It ought to work out. If we can get any kind of cooperation, it's going to be a big job. We'll have to cover all the want ads and all the papers.
We've got a good description of that phony buyer, Joseph Newhall. If they planted a want ad in one of the papers, maybe he's the one of the gang who brought the ad in. It's possible one of the ad takers might remember him. Might be worth checking anyway.
Well, it could be. They might have phoned in the ad, too. That wouldn't help much.
Might as well it's not foolproof, but it's a different approach. It's a plan anyway. We've tried everything else we can think of to reach the thieves.
I get it. Auto theft, Friday time. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. When was that? I see. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. As soon as we can. Thank you, sir. Well, maybe we won't have to wait for the weekend.
What do you mean?
A man out in Echo Park. He runs a candy store out there. He advertised his car for sale in this morning's paper. Said the first one to answer it was a buyer from Dan Barton's used car lot. Gave his name as Joseph Newhall. Looks like the same M.O.
Mm-hmm. They make a deal?
Well, the candy store owner wouldn't go for the deposit check. He wanted the full amount. Said the deal didn't sound right to him.
How does it stand now?
Well, Newhall said he'd come back with a check for the full sale price.
When?
8 o'clock tonight. 2:20 p.m. We drove out and questioned the candy store owner further. His description of Newhall tallied with the others, but again, the potential victim had failed to get any kind of a description of the car Newhall was driving or the license number. Ben and I staked out at the house. 8 p.m. came and went. The suspect failed to show. By midnight, there was still no sign of him. Well, the way it shaped up, Newhall apparently had a policy of making a deal at first contact or forgetting about it. He probably figured that if a person was at all suspicious, The interval would give him time to check, and Newhall wasn't giving away any odds. All day Wednesday, the stakeout went on. No sign of the suspect. On Thursday night, the local newspapers gave us lists of names and phone numbers of all private parties who had ordered want ads for the coming weekend to advertise the sale of an automobile. We divided up the names, and 6 of us took turns on the phones and started calling each party. We warned them about the car theft ring and advised them of what steps to take in the event Joseph Newhall or one of the other gang members approached them with a proposition to buy their car. One of the private parties we contacted was a Mr. Roy Harmon. Ben got on one and got in the thing we'd prepared. Sergeant Ormsby used the other extension and called another party running an ad.
Sergeant Ormsby, Los Angeles Police Department auto.
How's that, sir? Yes, and one of the gang usually goes under the name of Joseph Newell. Contacted it all. All that. Now, stand on. Right, thank you, sir.
What was that all about?
A man by the name of Harmon runs a cocktail lounge out on South Cole. He took in a check over the bar last night, company check from Dan Barton's used car lot. Says it was signed Joseph Newhall.
Well, he ought to remember who passed it.
He does. I got it right here. A man by the name of Frank Curtis. He's a regular customer at the bar. Harmon says this Curtis came in the place last night with a man in a dark suit, and the man seemed to be a friend of Curtis's.
Yeah.
Well, I asked him what the friend looked like, and he described him. It was Newhall.
Mm-hmm. What about that check business?
Harmon says he was standing bar at the time. Told me this Frank Curtis and Newhall had quite a few drinks together, and they ran out of money. Newhall wanted to cash a check, but Harmon said no, he didn't know him.
Uh-huh.
Well, this Frank Curtis is a regular customer at the bar, and he offered to endorse the check for Newhall. So Harmon said okay, and he cashed it.
Well, how well does Harmon know this customer is, this Curtis?
Pretty well. Lives across the street from me.
We checked Frank Curtis through R&I, but he had no previous criminal record. We left the rest of the list for the other men, and Ben and I drove out and talked to Roy Harmon, the owner of the cocktail lounge where the suspect Joseph Newhall had cashed a check with the help of his friend, Frank Curtis. Harmon told the same story he'd given Ben over the phone. Curtis was a long-time neighbor of his and a steady customer at his cocktail lounge. As for Newhall, he'd never set eyes on him until the night before. Harmon gave us the home address of Frank Curtis, and we checked it out. Mrs. Curtis answered the door and told us that her husband Frank was working the newly inaugurated night shift at an aircraft plant in the south end of the city. Ben and I drove down to the plant, and after checking with the personnel office, we finally located Curtis at his work. He was an assistant foreman in one of the aircraft assembly shops.
The truth, Sergeant Romero. The last time I saw Newhall before years ago. We used to work at a work plant together. What's the matter anyways? You done something?
We understand you endorsed a check to Newhall for $50. You know him that well? I mean, that you'd endorse checks for him?
Well, maybe I shouldn't have. Wife's always telling me I ought to be more careful who I'm signing checks for. Well, what happened anyway? Wasn't the check any good?
Do you have any idea where we could find this friend of yours, this Newhall?
Well, I don't know. During the war, he and his wife lived in this housing project off North Main. I know they moved from that place, though.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, old Joe didn't tell me where he was living. I gave him my address, told him to drop over for a beer sometime. Don't remember getting his address, though. Couldn't tell me what this is about, huh?
Just a routine check. We'd like to locate Newhall, that's all. Got a few questions we'd like to ask him.
Sir, excuse me. We better watch it here, Sergeant.
Yeah.
Men coming through with that jig there. Okay, fellas, straight on through. All clear. Vertical fin assembly, down to 3. We're getting busy again, all right. Seems like the old swing shift days all over again. War years.
Yeah, you mentioned a minute ago that Newhall is married, Miss Curtis.
Yeah, that's right.
What about his wife? Can you tell us anything at all about her?
Betty? No, I don't think so. Her and Joe seem to get along all right. Got along pretty well, matter of fact. Nice girl, Betty. I never minded her much.
The Newhalls have any children? Do you know that?
No kids. Both of them work, her and Joe.
Uh-huh. Would you know if Newhall's wife is still working?
I don't know. Probably is. But yeah, matter of fact, she is. Joe happened to mention it the other night when we were talking. Just happened to think of it.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I remember I asked about Betty, and he said she was still working. Same old place, same old job, that's all.
Where is this place she works, do you know?
Yeah, City Hall.
We continued questioning Frank Curtis, and he told us that to the best of his knowledge, the suspect's wife, Betty Newhall, had a civil service rating and that she'd worked as a file clerk in the record room of one of the bureaus in the municipal. The next morning, Ben and I got in touch with the civil service officials at the City Hall, and they got out a tracer on the wife of the suspect. 11:20 a.m. I got it. Auto theft Friday. Yes, sir. How's that? I didn't hear it. When? Yeah, I see. Yes, sir. Right. We'll check with you in about an hour. Bye. I don't know why we always have to do it the hard way.
Why, what was it?
The call back on Newhall's wife. Most of it checks out just the way Curtis told it.
What's the rub?
Betty Newhall quit her job a month ago. Hasn't been around, hasn't been seen since. Civil service can't even contact her.
What's the deal?
She moved. No forwarding address, not a trace of her.
Exit Ball Road off the 57 freeway. Light up the holidays with a new vehicle from Anaheim Auto Center. We'll make your holiday dreams come true at Anaheim Auto Center with our incredible savings and huge discounts. Need some extra money for the holidays? Come to Anaheim Auto Center today and save thousands. We have a great selection of new vehicles and unbeatable service. Light up your holiday season today at Anaheim Auto Center. We want you to be completely satisfied. The holidays are the perfect time to buy a new vehicle. Why go anywhere else? We have it all at one convenient location near the Anaheim Pond. So light up your holiday season with a great new car or truck from Anaheim Auto Center.
Anaheim Auto Center, we're on the ball.
Exit Ball Road off the 57 freeway.
KNX 1070 News Radio.
Saturday, February 23rd. The strongest lead we'd had to the auto theft gang began to fade. Mrs. Betty Newhall, the wife of our principal suspect, wasn't to be found. We checked out all her known friends and relatives, the places she was known to frequent. There wasn't a trace of her. Then got all the available information on her from the Civil Service office, and we got out a broadcast in the supplementary All Points Bulletin. We found out she had a 10-year-old son, so we checked with the Board of Education to see if the boy was registered in one of the city schools. He wasn't listed. Still no response. We stayed on it. In the meantime, the weekend was wearing past the halfway point. The other two teams of men working the case were standing by, but apparently none of the private parties who were running want ads over the weekend advertising the sale of an automobile had been approached yet by either Joseph Newhall or some other member of the gang. If they did make a contact, it hadn't been reported to us. Saturday night, still no response. 8:50 p.m. Ben and I had some supper at Johnny Coken's place, and then we went back to the office.
Not a bad meal at all, huh?
Pretty fair for a Saturday night. Good soup.
Yeah, there's nothing like that corn chowder Johnny puts out. It's the best.
I sure wish you'd do something about that coffee. It's like taking a shot of adrenaline, isn't it?
It is pretty strong and... excuse me. Maybe that's what's giving me this heartburn.
Where's Ormsby? I thought he was covering.
So did I. He was here when I left.
Joe, Ben?
Hi, Army. Thought we lost you.
I'm taking a call from Hollywood Division. Good piece of news.
What's that?
Newhall's wife, they found her.
At approximately 25 minutes past 8 that night, a dark-haired woman in her late 30s had brought a young boy into a pharmacy in the Hollywood area. Apparently, the woman had been drinking, but she was not intoxicated. The young boy with her, whom she identified as her 10-year-old son, was badly cut and bruised about the face and head. The woman insisted that the pharmacist on duty treat the boy and attend to his injuries. After arguing with the woman, the pharmacist called the Hollywood Receiving Hospital. An ambulance was dispatched, and the boy and his mother were there for treatment. At Hollywood Receiving, the woman gave her name as Betty Harrison, and her son's name is George Harrison. But a routine identification check by officers next door at the Hollywood Division Station disclosed her true name as Mrs. Betty Newhall. The desk sergeant ordered her held for interrogation and notified our office immediately. 9:30 p.m. Ben and I arrived at the Hollywood Division.
Her boy, George, Mrs. Newhall, how did he happen to get beat up like that? It's pretty bad for a little fellow.
I warned Joe about hitting little George. I told him if he did it again, I'd walk out. Well, I did walk out. I don't care what happens to him.
You mean the boy's father did that to him, beat him up like that?
He's not George's father. Second marriage. My name used to be Donnelly. I had 2 kids. One died.
Uh-huh.
When the divorce came through, I got custody of George, and I married Joe Newhall.
You know why we're looking for your husband, Ms. Newhall?
Yeah, I think so.
Why do you think so?
Car business. I knew what he was doing.
Do you have any idea at all where we can find your husband?
I'm not sure. He might be a lot of places. Just can't get over what he did to George. No reason at all. Kid came home and asked if he could go to the show. Husband got up and slapped him. Been drinking quite a bit. He hit the kid with his closed fist, kept hitting him. A grown man slugging a 10-year-old kid like that. I don't care about any man where George is concerned. Nobody's going to treat a kid of mine like that.
You said you knew about your husband's dealing in the car business, Mrs. Newhall. How much do you know about it?
I didn't have any part of it, I can tell you that much. It was his idea from the beginning, my husband's. got the men together to work the racket. He made all the plans. He gave all the orders.
How is it you quit your job at the city hall in such a hurry?
My husband's idea, I guess. He thought if anything happened, he didn't want to be traced that easy. Then he had to go and get drunk that night. Cash that check. He always did stupid things like that.
Mm-hmm. How about the gang your husband has working with him, Ms. Newhall? Can you tell us anything about them?
Yes, I can. Three fellows working with him I know of. Deadman and Curly Reese and Jack Whitmore. Maybe there's someone else besides them, but I don't know of.
You know where these men live, ma'am? Where we can find them?
I think I do, yeah. I got the addresses at home. At this time, they're probably all there.
You know the places they were supposed to be staying.
Yeah, I got the addresses at home.
How about the cars they got on this deal they were working? What are they doing with them? Do you know that?
I don't know for sure. They were moving them east, I think, selling them back there.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't always get the deep marriage, the jealousy, the deeper.
No.
Even they didn't like kids. They didn't want to have a home. Why'd they have to be that way?
Well, I'd like to ask you something, if I could.
Yeah.
Why'd you marry him? 10:43 p.m. We stopped at the Newhall apartment on the way back to the city hall, called the office, and arranged for a stakeout. The wife of the suspect, Betty Newhall, gave us the names and addresses of the people she knew to be working with her husband, Joseph Newhall, in the auto theft gang. She had no information to offer on the cars they might be driving. When we got to the office, we took a complete statement from Mrs. Newhall, and then she was booked in at the main jail on suspicion of grand theft auto. 11:09 p.m. Together with Wilson and Ormsby, we started checking out the addresses of the gang members. Our first two stops, we got nothing. On our last two, we did a little better. We picked up a Jack Whitmore, Curly Reese, and a Carl Stedman, three of the names which Mrs. Newhall had mentioned. We took them downtown and booked them in at the main jail. That still left the principal suspect, Joseph Newhall, unaccounted for. At 1:45 a.m. the next morning, we got a tip as to his whereabouts, a small hotel on East 1st Street. We checked it out. The man answering Newhall's description was registered in room 209 on the second floor. We got a pass key from the room clerk on duty and started up the stairs.
209. Down this way, Gil.
All right. Yeah, 7. Here we are.
Mm-hmm.
See if we can get a rise, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, who is it?
Yeah, police officers. I'd hold it there, Mrs. Down, Ben.
Yeah.
Hey, what is this? What's this all about?
You generally sleep with your clothes on, Newhall?
Look, I don't know what you're talking about. What is this, a shakedown?
He's clean, Joe. I'll check his bag.
Hey, now, stay out of those things. You haven't got any right breaking in here like this, going through my property.
Let's relax, Newhall. This won't take long.
2 full pads of them, Joe. Find them in his suitcases. Company check. Dan Barton's used car lot.
We talked to your friends, mister. We got one side of the story. You want to come downtown and give us yours?
You get nothing from me. Not unless I see my lawyer. You can't hold me on any charges.
Grand theft auto, Newhall. We've got the witnesses. We've got the evidence. If you've got something to say, say it. If you haven't, we'll get along downtown.
You haven't got anything on me. You haven't got enough to hold me an hour.
We're going to give it a try. For a full 5 hours, we questioned Newhall, both at the hotel and later downtown in the interrogation room. And after 5 hours of questioning, he finally broke and admitted being the mastermind behind the auto theft racket.
Your true name is Joseph Willard Newhall, is that right?
Yeah, that's it. You can't blame the whole setup on me, though. My wife had a hand in it just as much as I did.
Well, we've already got her statement. You want to give us yours?
Yeah, she's just as much to blame as I am. We didn't hurt anybody anyway. It's just a con deal, that's all. We didn't hurt anybody.
How do you figure that?
Well, just a simple con deal. People advertising their cars for sale are trying to cheat out a few bucks for themselves. We just outfigured them, that's all.
You ready to dictate a statement for us?
You know, we outfigured you two. You'd never have reached us if it wasn't for my wife.
We'd reach you.
Not in 30 years you wouldn't. Where'd you go in circles? Just one hitch. My wife and that stupid kid of hers. Just because I slapped him around a little, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that.
Well, you better learn a lesson, mister.
What?
Next time you fight, don't pick a 10-year-old.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On May 29th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. A check of his fingerprints revealed that Joseph Newhall's true name was Joseph Orrin Henderson, and that he had a previous record of forgery and burglary in the state of South Carolina. Henderson, alias Newhall, was tried and convicted, along with his associates in the auto theft gang, on 8 counts of grand theft and forgery of a fictitious check. They received sentences as prescribed by law. Grand theft is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 1 or more than 10 years. Forgery of a fictitious check is punishable by imprisonment in the county jail for not more than 1 year or in the state penitentiary for not more than 14 years. The wife, Betty Newhall, was convicted as an accomplice and was sentenced to serve 1 year in the county jail.
Ladies and gentlemen, our security and the peace of the world are in danger while hundreds of millions behind the Iron Curtain are victims of vicious lies about the United States and other free nations. Join the crusade for freedom through your local crusade committee or by writing to General Clay, Empire State Building, New York City. Make a contribution to its work. Help truth fight communism. Join the crusade for freedom.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
The story of Dr. Kildare.
Whatsoever house I enter, there will I go for the benefit of the sick. And whatsoever things I see or hear concerning the life of men, I will keep silence thereon, counting such things to be held as sacred trust. I will exercise my art solely for the cure of my...
The story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer brought you those famous motion pictures. Now this exciting, heartwarming series is heard on radio. In just a moment, the story of Dr. Kildare. But first, your announcer. Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Parker said you wanted to see me, Dr. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were alone.
It's all right, Jim. Come in. Mr. Sarvo, this is Dr. Kildare.
Dr. Kildare? How do you do, sir?
Jimmy, Mr. Sarvo has presented me with a problem, and I wanted you here as a witness.
Oh?
Mr. Sarvo wants me to examine a man and treat him, but he wants me to do it without knowing the identity of the patient.
Nobody can know his identity. That is imperative.
It's also highly unusual, Mr. Sarvo.
I assure you it is necessary.
It's also necessary that I protect Blair Hospital.
I don't understand.
Oh, that should be rather simple to understand, Mr. Sarvo. For all Dr. Gillespie knows, you may be asking him to treat a criminal or something, a man wanted by the law.
No, I give you my word. The man you will treat is not a criminal. Quite the contrary.
Well, then why can't you tell me who he is?
Dr. Gillespie, I can't even give you a reason. All I can say is that I hope someday I may be able to explain it to you.
Oh, there's one thing we're entitled to know. You didn't choose Blair Hospital and Dr. Gillespie out of thin air for this case.
The choice was made after extensive inquiry. Dr. Gillespie is reputed to be the finest internist available.
How do you know your patient needs an internist?
Because of the symptoms. Severe abdominal pain, general malaise, insomnia. Doctor, It is my understanding that you cannot refuse to treat a patient simply because you do not know his identity.
Oh, just a moment, Mr. Sarvo. Dr. Gillespie hasn't refused treatment.
Then there's nothing further to discuss, is there? I will reserve 2 rooms here at the hospital for tomorrow morning. I'll occupy one of them so that I may be close at hand. And your patient will be admitted to the other under the name of John Smith.
John Smith. All right. Bring him in the morning and we'll have a look at him.
Thank you, gentlemen. I wish I could tell you what a tremendous trust is being placed in your hands.
Oh, just a moment, Mr. Sarvo. Dr. Gillespie, according to the symptoms, we probably should run a GI series. Huh? Patient might as well be prepared for it anyway when he comes in, huh?
Yes, of course, Jimmy, that's right. See that your John Smith takes no food or liquid of any kind after midnight tonight. Have him here and ready for examination at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Any request you make will be granted, Doctor.
Yeah. Any request will be granted, Doctor, except telling us who the patient really is.
Someday, frustration of your curiosity will give you an ulcer.
Oh, is that so? When did I ever go around sticking my nose into other people's business?
What was that noise?
I'll bet I know. Since when have you taken over the janitor's job? You were listening at the keyhole. That's what you were doing.
Oh, I was not.
No, you were so. You're just busting to find out who John Smith is.
Why,
go on. Go back to your work and stop meddling.
Well, you don't have to go hollering just because I'm interested in my job, you know.
Women. Did you ever see anybody so nosy in all your life, Jimmy?
That's a delicate question.
Oh, if a man wants to call himself John Smith, it's nobody's business but his own.
Oh, I quite agree.
Who the devil can he be picking such a silly name like that?
Oh, we may find out in the morning while we're finding out what's wrong with him. Now, don't be nervous, Mr. Smith. Fluoroscope can't harm you.
Oh, it just makes it possible for us to see how you're functioning organically.
I quite understand. I won't be a difficult patient.
Oh, I'm sure you won't. Heart looks all right. Move the viewing plate down, Jimmy.
Okay. Get a look at the, Look at this, Dr. Gillespie.
I see it. In the pyloric region.
Have you had difficulty retaining food lately, Mr. Smith?
Yes. Sometimes I suffer from extreme nausea.
Better get a better look at that, Jimmy. Parker, where's the barium mixture?
Right here, Dr. Gillespie.
Give it to Dr. Kildare.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Smith, I want you to take this glass in your left hand. Got it?
Yes.
Now, this is barium. It's a metallic liquid. Harmless, but it shows up well in the fluoroscope and X-ray. We can trace its course through your digestive tract. I want you to start by taking just one large swallow.
All right, Doctor.
That's good, good. Now, just hold the glass. I want you to drink the rest of it in a minute.
Use a little hand pressure, Jimmy.
All right.
Force it around the pyloric region.
Let me know if this causes you any discomfort, Mr. Smith. See it clearly now?
Yeah, very clearly.
All right, Mr. Smith, drink the rest of the mixture. Take it all down quickly as possible, please. Now, I'll tilt the backboard into table position. I want you to climb up on it and lie down on your stomach. That's it. Now, lie on your right side of your face. Arms above your head, please.
I'll move the viewplate, Jimmy.
Thanks.
Hey, there it is. That's the spot.
Yes. All right, Parker, turn off the fluoroscope, put on the lights.
You just stay in that same position for a few minutes, Mr. Smith.
All right.
Want me to call the X-ray technician?
Yeah. Tell them to take 4-quarter views and let's know when they're ready.
After the X-rays are finished, you can go back to your room, Mr. Smith. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Doctor.
Well, what do you think, Jimmy?
We'll know better when we see the X-rays, of course, but there's a definite growth in the pylorus.
A dangerous growth?
Not necessarily, not unless it's malignant.
Well, if it isn't now, it will be if it's left there much longer.
I'd recommend exploratory surgery unless the plates indicate a benevolent tumor.
I am afraid that what we saw wasn't benevolent.
Here are the x-rays, Dr. Gillespie.
Oh, good. Let's have a look at them.
I'm afraid they don't require very much looking.
Yeah.
You agree?
All the appearances of carcinoma.
That's what I thought. Well, it'll have to be removed.
And in a couple of weeks at the most. If the growth spreads, the pylorus will be completely obstructed. After that, we'd be too late.
Well, we don't have any worry on that score. It isn't too late now, from all indications. It's still operable, and I'd say the prognosis is favorable.
Oh, definitely. Unless complications develop.
None manifest.
Well, serious complications seldom are. They pop up when they're least expected. That's what makes them serious.
Guess we'd better have a talk with Smith and get his consent for surgery.
Mr. Savo has asked that we discuss our findings with him first, Jimmy. He's been in my outer office for an hour.
You know, that's an odd relationship between Sarvo and Smith. What do you suppose is behind it?
Well, Dr. Kildare. Who's busting with curiosity now?
Oh, come now, Dr. G. Your long nose is still showing.
It is not. Parker! Parker!
Yes, Dr. Gillespie.
Is Mr. Sarvo still there?
Yes, miss.
Send him in, please.
Doctor, we'll see you now, Mr. Sarvo.
Thank you. So, gentlemen, he's all right, isn't he? There's nothing seriously wrong.
Are you asking us or telling us?
Well, I'm sorry, Doctor. I'm upset. Now, please tell me what you found.
Your friend's a very sick man, Mr. Sarvo. I'll be blunt with you. We've located what seems to be a cancerous growth.
Then he's going to die.
Nobody said that.
Well, fortunately, you brought him here in time. The growth is operable.
No, Doctor. You're wrong. The growth is not operable. Not with him.
Are you a doctor, Mr. Sarvo?
No, but I know something that you have yet to learn. Then you'll understand. I'll begin by telling you who John Smith really is.
Well?
The man you know as John Smith is Philip III, King of Corsonia.
That's impossible. Philip of Corsonia abdicated his throne and made the country a democracy 15 years ago. He's been living in England.
He has been here incognito for several months.
Why couldn't you tell us this before?
Because he has enemies. In 4 months, there'll be a plebiscite in Corsonia, an election that will determine whether the country remains democratic or falls before a rising dictatorship. Philip is the one man who can rally the democratic forces, bring the split factions together.
Well, then the operation's even more imperative. If we don't operate, he'll be dead in 2 months.
I know, Doctor. But there's nothing you can do to save him.
But we told you that the whole...
Just a minute, Jimmy, just a minute. I'm afraid we're dealing with more than cancer. We're dealing with the curse of royal blood. Is Philip a descendant of the Bourbons, Savo?
Yes.
Yeah.
You mean he's a hemophiliac, a bleeder?
Yes, Doctor.
What can we do, Dr. Gillespie? If we don't operate on him, he'll die of cancer in 2 months. If we do operate, his blood won't coagulate. He'll bleed to death on the table.
Jimmy, that man is doomed.
We return to the story of Dr. Kildare in just a moment. Story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Dr. Gillespie. Well, Sunshine Carew. What's on your mind?
Of course, my position as head of this hospital seems to mean nothing to some people I could name. But may I remind you, I do have certain rights.
Did you come in here to read me the Constitution?
I am speaking of my rights in this hospital.
Oh.
Why haven't I been informed that Blair Hospital is honored by the presence of His Royal Majesty, Philip III of Corsonia?
What? Carew. How in tarnation did you find that out? That man's here incognito. You understand?
I understand that you have tried to deprive Blair Hospital of the greatest publicity story in its history.
Publicity? If one word of this leaks out, I'll cut out your giblets.
But really, you expect me to ignore...
How did you find out?
I have my sources of information, Dr.
So that's it. Huh? Parker?
Did you call me, Your Majesty? Doctor, go ahead.
You nitwit. So that's why you've been practicing that funny bowing stuff.
Well, for your information, it's not funny bowing stuff. It's what they do at court, and it's called a curtsy.
With those pretzel legs of yours.
Pretzel legs. Let me tell you.
You tell me nothing. I'll tell you, both of you. A man is going to die, and the country he loves may die with him. Is that what you two blabbermouths want to turn into a publicity circus? Get out of here!
Dr. Kildare, come in.
How are you today, Mr.
No. I gave up being a king 15 years ago. Call me Philip, please. And regard me as a friend.
Oh, thank you.
Savo tells me that I have 2 months, Doctor.
Oh, of course, we can never be certain about those.
No. It's all right. I had hoped it might be longer. Not for myself, but for my people. If only I could live until the plebiscite. To see them secure with an honorable government, I would do anything.
Would you gamble on losing the 2 months you do have to live? Would you take that chance?
Why do you ask, Dr. Kildare?
Because even with the odds 1,000 to 1 against us, I'm going to ask you to risk that operation.
But with hemophilia... Just a moment, Savo. Go ahead, Dr. Kildare.
Well, when a hemophiliac lives to maturity, as you have, there's sometimes an improvement in the condition of his blood. Not much, but some. With a strict pre-surgical regime, we might make some slight additional improvement. Maybe enough to give us just the ghost of a chance.
How can you ask him to take this risk?
You're forgetting something, Savo. I am going to die in any case. Dr. Kildare is asking me to risk what time I have left against the faint hope of recovery, and with it life for our people.
I'm sorry, Philip. I withdraw my objection.
All right, Doctor. I'll gamble with you. But do you realize you are gambling, too?
I realize that very keenly.
Well, then why are you doing this, Doctor?
I have my reasons.
Very well. When will you operate?
In about 2 weeks, when we've prepared you as best we can. I'll start by having the nurse bring you a capsule. It's an ovarian extract. You're to have one every 3 hours around the clock from now until surgery. The other preparations, well, you'll be acquainted with them as we go along. You sent for me, Dr. Gillespie?
You know darn well I did. Sit down, Jimmy. Sit down. What are you up to?
Why, I don't know what you mean.
Do you think I'm deaf, dumb, and blind? What's behind those extracts you've been prescribing for Philip?
Well, Dr. Gillespie, I've started him on a pre-surgery regime.
A pre-surgery? Jimmy Kildare, have you gone mad?
You've got to try it.
Have you thought of what failure means?
The life of one man who will die anyhow.
Oh, I know that, but the world won't know about it, or about the odds against you. They'll only know that a king died under your scalpel, and your future as a doctor will die with him.
I can't let that matter. but not on the face of what it means to his country, or what it may mean to the rest of the world.
What does it mean to us?
If Philip lives, it guarantees a democracy in Corsonia, a friendly nation in the strategic heart of Europe, something to help balance our world against everything that might try to destroy it. And does my reputation mean more than that?
Well, you're right, Jimmy. We've no choice. Let's have it. What are your plans?
Oh, well, now, Dr. Gillespie, I can't ask you to share this.
Oh, confound it, Jimmy Kildare. Don't you try pulling that on me. I brought you into this case, and we'll see it through together.
Now, if we can get a look at this blood smear under the microscope.
He did a lot of bleeding for a simple finger puncture, Jimmy.
I know.
How does that slide look?
The platelet count's all right. Let's see. Above 250,000, but there's still a qualitative defect.
That's the trouble. It won't clot.
Type AB. We'll call a donor.
All set for direct transfusion, Dr. Kildare.
Thanks, Parker. Now, you may bleed quite a bit, sir.
I understand.
Clench and unclench your fist after I enter the vein. Now, here we go.
Hey, watch the point of entry, Jimmy.
It's all right. He'll get more than he loses.
Yeah, not as much as you'll need.
Platelets look a little better, Dr. G.
Clotting time didn't. It still took too long.
Well, we'll have to give him another direct transfusion in surgery.
Parker, prepare an injection of fresh serum, 30 cc's.
Intramuscular?
Yes, Parker, but I'll administer it.
I better repeat the same injection 24 hours before surgery.
I will. But that'll be it, Dr. Gillespie. There's nothing else we can do.
Yes, there is, Jimmy. Yes, there is. Give it up.
I can't. I've given my word, win or lose. Parker, see that the operating room is ready Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock. Scalpel, Parker.
Yes, Doctor.
How are those hemoclamps, Dr. Gillespie?
All right. Jimmy, but hurry up.
No time for pathology. We've got to get out fast.
Open the transfusion valve a little more, Parker. He isn't getting it fast enough.
Carcinoma isn't too bad. I'll be finished in a minute.
Oh, the cancer isn't our worry.
Dr. Kildare.
What is it, Dr. Mason?
I'm not getting a pulse, Doctor.
I can't stop. Quickly, Parker. Chloramine hypo.
Here.
I'll take it.
Right into the heart muscle, Dr. Gillespie.
There it is, Jimmy.
Well, I've got all of the growth ready for suturing. Any response, Dr. Mason?
No, I don't. Wait a minute. Yes. Faint, but there's a pulse.
Step up the oxygen, please.
Watch those hemoclamps, Jimmy.
I am, but we've got to close him up fast. Can't take much more blood from the donor.
Pulse is holding evenly, Doctor, but still faint.
We'll make it.
We'll get him out alive, and we've got to keep him that way. That's a tough one, Jimmy.
Yeah. Get those ice packs ready, Parker. Temperature change around the incision may help clotting.
How about cannon applications?
Try it. We'll try anything now. We've got nothing to lose.
Hello, Jimmy.
Oh, Dr. G.
How is he?
Oh, I'm afraid. I'm afraid we've lost. See for yourself.
But, Jimmy, there's no excessive blood loss here. Clotting seems to be all right.
All right, but too late.
Jimmy, come over here.
Is he gone?
Gone, nothing. Well, what was his last temperature reading?
Very low, almost down to 96.
Well, it's better than that now. You can tell by feeling him. Get those ice packs off him right away.
He does seem to be warmer.
Of course he's warmer. He's not in coma. He's in shock from loss of blood. But he's holding now. Let his temperature come up.
The clotting's strong enough to hold.
If he's watched every minute to keep him from moving. Once he comes out of shock, one more transfusion would get him over the hump.
Yes, unless... Unless we've failed where we can't see our failure. Inside, there may be internal loss.
Well, if there is, he won't regain consciousness.
If there is, it'll be my fault.
Don't ever say that, Jimmy. Getting him this far is a miracle. You had to work faster than any surgeon I've ever seen, and against fantastic odds.
He's stirring. He's coming around.
Talk to him. Penetrate his consciousness.
I'll try. Philip. Philip, do you hear me, Philip?
Dr. Kildare.
He's coming through, Jimmy.
Yes.
Finished?
Yes, Philip, we're finished. It's all over. You'll be all right now.
Had faith in you.
You couldn't have had faith in a better man. Jimmy, I'm going to call the donor.
Oh, I'll do it, Doctor.
No. You stay here with your patient. I'm the assistant on this case, and I'm proud of it.
In just a moment, we will return to the story of Dr. Kildare. Once again, the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Good morning, Dr. G.
Well, Jimmy, why are you so bright and cheerful?
Why, haven't you seen the morning papers? Hey, look. Results of the Corsonia plebiscite. Look at that headline.
Former monarch leads Democratic faction to overwhelming victory. People rally to execute. Jimmy, that is wonderful.
I know, and look at this. The man we knew as Sarvo was elected president of the Republic.
President. I like that word, Jimmy. I like it. Gives me a safe feeling.
Dr. Kildare. Oh, Dr. Kildare.
Parker, must you come in here like you were shot out of a cannon?
Well, I wanted to give this to Dr. Kildare. It's a cablegram. It just came all the way from Europe.
From Europe?
Here. What is it? What does it say?
Well, give him a chance to open it. Do you think he has X-ray eyes? Good. Well, Jimmy, what does it say?
It's from Philip. It says, President Sarvo and I thank you for a victory that would not have been possible without your help and the help of Dr. Gillespie. And persuading Sarvo to appoint me ambassador to the United States and look forward to seeing you again. Sarvo and I pledge that you and your country will always have friends in ours. With humble gratitude, Phil.
You have just heard the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. This program was written by Joel Murcott and directed by Joe Bigelow. Original music was composed and conducted by Walter Schumann. Virginia Gregg was heard as Nurse Parker and Ted Osborne as Dr. Carew. Others in the cast included Larry Dobkin and Ben Wright. Dick Joy speaking.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to burglary detail. A wave of shoplifting breaks out in your city. There's no pattern to the thief's operations. There are no leads. Weeks pass. The number of thefts keep growing. Your job? Stop them.
In Fatima, the difference is quality.
Confirmed by smokers coast to coast.
In Fatima, the difference is quality.
Confirmed by latest Fatima sales reports. Yes, Fatima quality. The finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild, to give you a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
So compare Fatima. See for yourself why thousands and thousands of king-size cigarette smokers are switching to Fatima every day.
Enjoy all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Remember, Fatimas cost the same as the cigarette you're now smoking.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Next time, buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, August 22nd. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of burglary detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Wisdom. My name's Friday. It was 2:18 p.m. when we got to Anthony's store for women, the general manager's office.
Mr. Addy? Come on in.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Romero, sir. I'll talk to you on the phone. This is my partner, Sergeant Friday.
How do you do? Elliot, how are you?
Certainly glad to see him. Let me get another chair here.
Thank you very much.
I haven't had time for my after-lunch cigarette yet. Care to join me?
No, thank you, sir. I got a light for you.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Well, I guess you know what the problem is. No need for me to go all the way back and start from the beginning.
I didn't get it quite clear on the phone, Mr. Elliott. When did this last thing come in?
Well, the way we figured out, it must have happened around closing time yesterday, between 5:30, we figured.
The store was pretty crowded at that time, was it?
Yeah, pretty busy. There's a special pre-winter showing in the fur department. No one noticed it was gone until after we'd closed up.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us a description of the piece of merchandise, Mr. Elliott?
Yes, yeah. You got it right there. Complete description, you see. Silver blue mink stole, satin lining, 2 slash pockets, silver chain fastener. Complete description of it for you.
Yes, I see. Thank you. These are the code numbers and the serial numbers on it, then?
That's right. The whole thing is getting way out of hand, Sergeant. We had a lot of things lifted from the store the last few weeks, but nothing this big. If this keeps up, I don't see how we're going to get our insurance renewed.
I guess your store detectives are working on this latest one, the missing purse?
Yes, but it's the same as all the recent cases we've had. They haven't been able to find a thing. All the personnel have been checked, all the people who were around the department when the fur was stolen. I mean, those it was possible to check on. As far as we know, they're all clear.
Uh-huh. What were the circumstances of this thing, Mr. Elliott? I mean, was this mink stole on a display rack? Did one of the models have it on? Exactly how was it?
Well, it was modeled, yes. After it was shown to several parties, it was put back in stock. We have a special rack for the stoles, regular enclosed cabinets, sliding doors on it. Cabinets usually open during store hours.
I see.
There was a store detective in the department at the time. All those salespeople were standing around. I can't understand why one of them didn't see it happen.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Elliott, you say this is the first time an expensive item like this has been lifted from the store?
That's right.
Now, about the personnel, Mr. Elliott, you say there's been a check made on each one of them since this thing started?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And there's no reason to be suspicious at all of any one of your people?
Well, as a matter of fact, there is one, Sergeant. Sales girl. She was up in 5 in the Sweet 16 shop. Then she was moved down to cosmetics on the street floor.
What is it that makes you suspicious for her?
Well, before I say anything, I want to make it perfectly clear to you. We've never had any real proof that there was something wrong there. Dorothy started with us 8 years ago. That's the girl's name, Dorothy Curtin.
Mm-hmm.
She came to us right out of high school. She seemed to be doing all right, got along with the customers, dressed neatly, always on time. And all of a sudden, this shoplifting started. We didn't think there was any connection at first. Thought it was only coincidence. How do you mean? Well, just for instance, wait a minute. Get the flour on that right hand in the dirt. I see. Yeah. Here it is. Out of the first 14 items that disappeared, 6 of them were out of Dorothy Kirkman's department, right out of her section. Cashmere sweaters, expensive blouses, scarves. As I say, at first we wrote it off to coincidence, but it kept recurring. Her section almost seemed to be the focal point of all the shoplifting. That was at the beginning, of course.
Did you have the Kirkman girl watched, Mr. Elliott?
Yes, we did. The department head kept an eye on her, and, well, I guess Dorothy noticed it. She resented it quite a bit, had a little spat with the head of the department. We thought it'd be best for everyone if she transferred. So we had her move downstairs to cosmetics.
Mm-hmm. How did that arrangement work out?
Well, for the first few weeks, fine. And we started missing things out of cosmetics. A lot of it didn't amount to too much, but a lot of it did. Makeup kits, expensive perfumes. This time we called her in, tried to talk to her about it in a nice way. She got very resentful.
Mm-hmm. She denied knowing anything about it, say?
Yeah, she got very upset. Of course, there is one thing I will say. The items in cosmetics are on display all over the counter. It's fairly easy for anybody to pick them up. The fact still remains that stealing began in her department upstairs. She moves over to cosmetics, and all of a sudden the losses increase there. What would you figure?
Yes, I see what you mean. Wonder if you could have somebody point out this Dorothy Kirkman for us, Mr. Elliott. I think maybe we better have a talk with her.
You'd like to help your sergeant, but I'm afraid that's not possible.
Well, how do you mean?
She quit last Saturday.
We got all the information available on Dorothy Kirkman from the store's personnel files, and then we called the office and gave them a description of the stolen fur. We asked them to check the Kirkman girl through R&I. She had no previous criminal record. Before we left the store, we went to the fur department, talked to all the salespeople concerned, but we were unable to come up with anything new regarding the theft of the silver blue mink stole. We drove out to Dorothy Kirkman's last known address. She wasn't at home, but her mother was. The mother told us that the day before, her daughter had started on a new job as a salesgirl at the House of Raymond, an exclusive shop specializing in all types of cosmetics. We checked the phone book and found that the House of Raymond was located in the same 10-block stretch along Wilshire Boulevard where the shoplifting campaign was going on. It was one of the few places along there that the thieves hadn't bothered. It was 3 blocks from Anthony's store for women, the Kirkman girl's former place of employment. 4:05 p.m. We located her behind one of the front counters. Across the aisle, half a dozen women were listening to a makeup demonstrator giving a talk on complexion care. Dorothy Kirkman seemed pleasant and cooperative.
No, I don't mind telling you. I got sick and tired of being called a thief. That's why I quit Anthony's. Well, that goes a long way.
You started work here at Raymond's yesterday, Miss Kirkman, is that right?
Yes, that's right. I think I'm going to like her up better than Anthony's.
Mm-hmm. While you were working here at Anthony's, ma'am, I suppose you'd heard that quite a bit of shoplifting was going on.
Yes, I knew about it. Guess every girl in the store knew it. They had a big personnel meeting about it.
Do you have any suspicions of your own, Miss Kirkman?
How do you mean that?
Well, I mean, was there anyone in particular that you might have been a little suspicious of? Maybe one of the customers?
No. I've waited on some real weird ones, but I didn't see any of them ever try to walk out with anything.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew was what Mr. Elliott told us at that meeting.
Well, this might be an embarrassing question for you, miss, and we'd appreciate an honest answer.
Yes?
What about the sales girls you worked with? Did any of them ever give you cause to be suspicious?
You mean, do I think any of them were doing the stealing? No. There were some of them I didn't like. I didn't trust them either. But I wouldn't accuse them of stealing. I wouldn't accuse anybody unless I had proof. That's more than I can say for some people I know.
Well, by any chance, did you happen to be in Anthony's this past Monday?
Monday? No, why do you ask?
When you were working on the 5th floor up the street at Anthony's, we understand that when the merchandise first started disappearing, a pretty good percentage of it was out of your section.
That's what they told me, yes.
And then when you were transferred downstairs to the cosmetics counter, quite a few things started disappearing from there. Now, we'd like an honest answer, Miss Kirkman. Do you have any explanation at all for this?
I'll tell you the same thing I told him at the store, Sergeant. I can't explain it. But I didn't have anything to do with it, believe me.
Well, you'll have to admit, miss, it's pretty much of a coincidence, isn't it?
Sergeant, you can call it anything you want to. I didn't have anything to do with it. The only thing I ever took home from that store was my paycheck. Would you excuse me, please? Customer, I have to wait on.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
What do you think?
I don't know. She's a nice enough girl. Seems to be telling the truth. Could be a coincidence the way it worked out.
Nothing to prove otherwise.
4:30 p.m. We finished questioning the suspect, Dorothy Kirkman, and Ben and I went back to the office and made arrangements to have the girl kept under temporary surveillance. A bulletin had been gotten out on the missing fur stole, the pawn shop detail had been notified, and a description of the fur had been placed on the stolen property list. The following day, along with Sergeants Dick Rubles and Jim Tabor, we continued our investigation of the latest shoplifting complaints. It went slow, a lot of legwork, and no progress. Like the dozens of other items of merchandise which had vanished in the last 8 weeks, there wasn't a trace of the missing fur stole. More men were added to the special detail on duty in the 10-block area where the stealing was going on. Anybody in the city who'd ever served time for shoplifting was checked and rechecked. Constant surveillance was maintained over a half a dozen known thieves who we figured might be involved. It got us nothing. Wednesday, August 23rd, 5:30 p.m. No leads, no progress. We went back to the office.
Sure hope I get home before 6 o'clock tonight. I want to see that shoe repair man out in our neighborhood.
What's the matter? You need some half-soles?
No. I went in their shop the other day and he conned me into a new set of arch supports. Matter of fact, he didn't even call them arch supports.
What did he say they were?
Metatarsal supports. You know, supports from metatarsal?
Yeah.
That's one of the bones in the foot. He sold me a pair of these things and told me I should wear only one of them in my right shoe.
Yeah, what's the matter with that? Isn't it working out?
Miserable. Feel like I've been walking around with one foot in a bucket. I'll check the bill.
Okay. Anything?
Yeah, sure is from Rubles.
What do you got?
That mink fur. It's been found.
2 hours before, at approximately 3:30 p.m. in the main depot of the Santa Fe bus lines, a 38-year-old housewife, or Mrs. Harriet Briggs, noticed an unclaimed parcel lying on one of the benches in the depot waiting room. When it became apparent to Mrs. Briggs that the parcel was either lost or forgotten, she picked it up and took it to the clerk in charge of lost and found articles. In checking the package for some kind of identification, they discovered the silver blue mink stole inside. The car was dispatched to pick up the fur, and it was identified as the garment taken from Anthony's fur salon. Mrs. Briggs volunteered to come along to the office to give what information she could. A stakeout was placed at the bus depot in case anybody called for the package. 5:50 p.m. We interviewed Mrs. Briggs in the squad room.
That's right, officer. It was just a little before 3:30. I was in the bus depot there waiting for my husband. That's when I first noticed this package lying on the bench just across from me.
I see. What'd you go on, Miss Briggs?
I didn't think anything of it at first. I went on reading the afternoon paper, but no one came for the package. It was just lying there. It was there a long time.
Well, how long would you say, ma'am? I mean, before you picked it up and took it to the lost and found clerk?
Oh, I'd say 20 minutes, half an hour. That much at least. I left it with the young man at the counter there, and I told him I'd be back to see if anyone claimed it. Well, when I did get back, that's after I had dinner with my husband, Carl, we found out what was in the package. It's certainly strange. Don't you think, officer?
Yes, ma'am. Did you happen to notice at all who it was that left the package there?
Well, I'm not really sure, officer, but I think I know who it was. A tall woman. She had a brown jacket, if I remember rightly. I think you'd say she was in her early 30s.
Have you ever seen this woman before, Miss Briggs?
No, I never did. Very attractive, as I recall. She wore glasses.
Anything else about her you might have noticed?
Let me think. She had blonde hair. I remember that much. The reason I do remember it is because she wore it like I used to when I was a girl, you know, sort of a back in a bun like this.
And you're pretty sure that this woman you described is the one who left the package there?
Mm-hmm. If I remember rightly, she's the only one that sat across from me. Guess it must be her. If it wasn't her, I don't know who else it could have been.
All right, Miss Briggs, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
That beautiful fur. I know that woman must be just sick about losing it. Certainly hope you find her, officer.
Yes, ma'am. So do we. We had the stats office make a run for us, and all females with shoplifting records who fitted the description of the woman who'd left the mink stole in the waiting room at the bus depot. The following morning, we checked with the men on stakeout at the depot. They told us nobody had come back to report losing such a parcel. Together with Rubles and Tabor, We spent most of the day checking out the names on the list of known shoplifters which the stats office had made up for us. Names of possible suspects who physically resembled the tall blonde woman seen at the depot. We got nowhere. Either they had ironclad alibis or they had since moved out of the city. We ran down every possible angle on the freak recovery of the missing fur stole. During the next 10 days, the case got more involved than it already was. Some of the stolen articles of new merchandise began showing up, but not through any of the channels we expected. Some of the items were found dumped in sidewalk refuse cans. Some were found in hotel lobbies, in the post office, in theaters. Some were found tossed in vacant lots. The only logical answer we could figure was that it was the work of somebody who was stealing for just the love of stealing, a kleptomaniac. Tuesday, September 4th, a 15-year-old girl in one of the exclusive residential neighborhoods reported finding 2 parcels containing women's clothing and expensive costume jewelry. They still had the price tags on them, and they totaled $360. Ben and I drove out to talk to the girl, a Patricia Denvers.
Where'd you happen to find these things, Patricia?
Empty lot right down the block there. I was on my way home from the show. I took the things home and showed my mother. She called the police. If nobody claims this package with the costume jewelry, can I keep it? Certainly beautiful.
No, I'm afraid not, miss. We know who the things belong to. We're going to have to return them.
Oh, I certainly don't understand that.
Well, how do you mean?
As far as I could see, she threw the things away. I thought she didn't want them.
What do you mean? Who didn't want them?
Well, the lady who threw them in the empty lot.
You saw who it was that threw the packages in that lot, did you?
Yes, I was on my way home from the show, just like I told you. I could see this lady walking up ahead of me. She was about a block away, I guess. When she went by the lot, I saw her take these packages from under her arm and toss them in the grass. She wouldn't do that if she wanted them, would she?
Did you get a good look at this woman? You have any idea what she looks like?
She's a good-looking woman. Tall. She has beautiful blonde hair. Her husband's a doctor.
You know who she is? You've seen her before?
Well, I don't know her to talk to. I just see her around the neighborhood.
Does she live around here? Do you know that?
Yeah, right next door to my girlfriend.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. If you smoke king-size cigarettes, listen to Fatima's amazing new offer. Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness and superbly blended tobaccos.
If you don't like Fatimas better than the king-size cigarette you are now smoking, return the pack with the unused Fatimas, and we'll give you your money back plus postage.
We make this amazing offer because we believe Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes.
Smokers all over the country are confirming this every day.
Here is the latest state-by-state report.
State 1, Fatima sales up 69%. 2, sales up 118%. 3, sales up 92%. 4, sales up 142%. And those are just a few.
Remember, if you're not convinced Fatima is better than your present king-size cigarette, just return the pack with the unsmoked Fatimas before December 1st and get your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Tuesday, September 4th, 5:15 p.m. With the help of the 15-year-old girl, Patricia Denvers, we got the name and address of the woman who'd been seen tossing the parcels of stolen merchandise into a vacant lot in the west end of the city. The woman was identified as a Mrs. Virginia Sterling, the wife of a Dr. Bruce Sterling, a fairly prominent young surgeon with offices in Beverly Hills. Mrs. Sterling and her husband had no children. They leased a richly furnished apartment in a residential section of the city that was considered better than the upper middle class. We checked Virginia Sterling through R&I, but she had no previous criminal record that we knew of. Together with Sergeants Rubles and Tabor, we covered the various stores along Wilshire Boulevard that had been victimized in the recent shoplifting campaign. We found that Mrs. Sterling had charge accounts at almost every one of the stores. Generally speaking, we found her accounts in very good standing, and among the store people, she was regarded as what is referred to as a fine customer, a good spender, and a good credit risk. Right down to the Retail Credit Association, there was nothing but favorable reports on the woman. 7:15 p.m., Ben and I had a hamburger and some chili and a cup of coffee for dinner, and then we drove out to the apartment of Dr. Sterling and his wife. Mrs. Sterling answered the door and invited us in. We identified ourselves. She told us the doctor was out on a call. She showed us into the living room. Modern furniture, indirect lighting, expensive rugs.
Won't you sit down, gentlemen?
Thank you very much.
Should I get you a drink? I was just having my coffee and brandy.
No, thank you, Mister.
I really don't know when your doctor will be back. He was called over to the hospital. Is there anything I could help you with?
Well, as a matter of fact, Mrs. Sterling, we came out to talk to you, not your husband.
Oh, really? What is it you wanted to talk to me about, Sergeant Romero?
Well, ma'am, we understand that you do quite a bit of your shopping along Wilshire Boulevard. Is that right?
Well, yes, I shop downtown quite often. Except the problem with parking, I find it a lot more convenient. Why do you ask?
Miss Sterling, do you do much of your shopping at Anthony's? I believe that's out in the Wilshire district.
Yes, I do. For my sports clothes, especially. They have a very good selection.
Mm-hmm. Would you remember if you were in Anthony's on the 22nd of last month? I believe that was a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday. No, I don't think I could remember one way or the other. I really don't have any special day for shopping. I just go when I feel like it or when I need something.
Have you ever been in the first line at Anthony's, ma'am? Have you ever made any purchases there?
I suppose I've been in almost every department at Anthony's at one time or another. I can tell you, though, I've never bought any furs there. As I told you, the main reason I go there at all is because of their sportswear. Could you tell me what this is about, please?
Routine investigation, ma'am. I wonder if you could tell us this. Do you have any occasion to travel in the area of the Santa Fe bus depot?
By bus? No. I don't think I've been on a bus since I've been married, and that'll be 6 years this coming December.
You've never been in the Santa Fe bus depot downtown, then?
No. I think I know where it is. I've driven past it. I've never been inside, though. Why should you want to know that?
Well, Miss Sterling, we're going to be honest with you. This has to do with an investigation we're on. Now, we've had a couple of reports that you were seen at the Santa Fe bus depot on August 23rd. That was on a Wednesday. Reports came from pretty reliable people.
Well, I certainly consider myself reliable, and I say I've never been there. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like some kind of explanation for this questioning.
You mean you have no idea why we drove out here to talk to you?
Well, of course not. Number one, I don't understand your questions at all. Number two, I'd like to know what they have to do with me.
What has this to do with you, ma'am? Last August 23rd, a woman in a brown sports jacket answering your description left a package in the Santa Fe bus depot. This package contained a mink stole taken from Anthony. The woman who left the package in the depot fits your description perfectly.
That's all? It's a coincidence.
Yes, ma'am, maybe. I suppose you've read in the papers about the big increase in shoplifting. Most of it's taking place right in the area where you say you do most of your buying. Well, we've checked out every single one of the cases, Ms. Sterling. Took us a long time. We found a dozen salespeople in those stores. Every one of them tells us that you were around the particular store when the shoplifting took place. Law of averages, Ms. Sterling. You show up too often in the reports.
Would you please leave my house? Both of you, please.
I'm sorry, Miss Sterling, but you'll have to come along with us.
What do you mean by that? Don't you know you can get in trouble making false accusations? I'm going to call my husband right now.
Yes, ma'am. Kildare, go right ahead.
Sergeant.
Yes, ma'am.
What is it? What do you want to know? You can tell me.
I think you know already.
What do you want? Tell me, please.
We've got your story, ma'am. Right up to this afternoon. You went shopping today. You stole things as usual. When you tried to get rid of them, you were seen right in this neighborhood. The vacant lot down in the next corner, you threw them away there. Somebody saw you.
They didn't know it was me.
Yes, ma'am. They knew it was you.
Yes. How can I make them understand? Do you know?
No, ma'am.
Horrible. Shame. I couldn't tell my husband. I couldn't tell Bruce. I couldn't.
Well, never mind. We'll tell him for you. 9:35 p.m. We got in the car and drove Mrs. Sterling downtown to the city hall. We took her to the interrogation room, called a police stenographer, and we began to take her complete statement. One of the first things she did was to admit full responsibility for the series of shopliftings which had been going on for over 2 months. She told us that her kleptomania, the urge to steal things, had started with her as far back as her junior high school years. She admitted as a girl she stole books, tablets, pencils, pieces of chalk. And as she grew older, it seemed to get more serious with her. It carried over into her college years. And that's when her stealing first got her into trouble.
It's when I joined the sorority. It was just like high school. I was all alone. We had a lot of clever girls in our house. Some of them were smart, some of them were pretty. All of them seemed to be doing something except me. I had to prove it to them. I guess I had to prove it to myself. I was smart, too.
You figured that taking things was the best way to prove that?
Yes, I suppose so. Of course, it wasn't easy, you know. The awful part was I got caught one day. It was kind of a relief in a way. I mean, how could they know I was just as smart as they were? They didn't find out what I was doing.
Did you stay on at college after that, Miss Sterling?
Oh, no, I couldn't after that. They voted me out of the sorority. There wasn't anything to do but leave, so I left.
Uh-huh. What happened after that?
I went to New York and stayed with an aunt I had there. Got a job. Had several jobs. The same thing came up again. I lost 2 of the jobs. Same thing over again. I just couldn't help it. Always means so much to me. Taking things, not being caught, getting away. Getting away. Things I took, they never meant anything to me. Nothing. Just taking them, not having anyone knowing. That's all that was important. It made up for that feeling, being all alone.
Yes, ma'am. And this thing went on, even after you were married?
No, not at first. I guess maybe a year or 2. We were very happy, Bruce and I. And then he got busy. Came out here and began to build his practice. I didn't see as much of him. We both wanted children. We wanted them very much. There weren't any. Bruce began to spend more time away from home. Just like before. Same thing. I wasn't important. I was all alone again. Wasn't anybody. You know what I mean, don't you, cousin?
Yes, ma'am.
There ought to be an answer someplace. There isn't anything worse than being alone. Is there?
I get it. Interrogation room Friday. Yeah, Dick. Mm-hmm. He is on his way now? Yeah, right. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Sterling just called. Said he was on his way in. He ought to be here in a couple of minutes.
I don't want to see Bruce. He's so good. I wouldn't know how to tell him.
Don't worry, ma'am. He'll be all right.
No. I'm alone. He's alone. It'll never be all right anymore.
Well, he's on his way in now, and he wants to see you.
What can I tell him? What's it going to be like? What's going to happen after this?
I don't know, ma'am, but you won't be alone anymore.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent. On December 9th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 88, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. And now, here's our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, a few minutes ago, we told you exactly why smokers all over the country are switching to king-size Fatimas. It's because Fatimas are extra mild, because they have a much better flavor and aroma. Now, if you haven't tried Fatimas yet, here's where you come in. We feel so sure that you'll enjoy Fatima quality that we make this offer. Buy a pack of Fatimas. If you don't like Fatimas better than the king-size cigarette you've been smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked cigarettes and we'll send you your money back, plus postage. You see, we're convinced that Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes. Buy a pack of Fatimas today. I know you'll agree.
Mrs. Virginia Sterling was tried and convicted on several counts of grand theft and received a sentence as prescribed by law, the terms to run concurrently. Grand theft is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 1 or more than 10 years. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles. story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to burglary detail. A dozen churches in your city are victimized by a team of experienced safe burglars. You track the suspects for weeks. You finally apprehend 3 men. Your job? Convict them.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Sunday, March 5th. It was cloudy in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of burglary detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Wisdom. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the record bureau, and it was 11:30 p.m. when I got to room 25A, the interrogation room. Excuse me, Ben?
Yeah, Joe?
Got a minute?
Yeah, sure. Wait here, Bryson. Back in a minute. All right.
Yeah? Let's go out in the hall. How you doing with Bryson? Did he tell you anything?
No, he won't admit a thing. How about the other 2 men?
No, nothing. They're sitting tight, waiting for their lawyer to show up. Had all 3 of them checked through R&I. Bryson's a 2-time loser, burglary, GTA. His 2 partners served time for robbery.
We shouldn't have too much trouble putting them away. We got a good enough collection of physical evidence.
Well, maybe.
Heard from the crime lab yet?
No, not yet. I'd feel a lot better about it if we'd get Bryson to cop out.
Let's call him again, huh?
Yeah, might as well not move. Go ahead.
Keep your seat, Bryson. Got a few more questions for you.
Excuse me. I thought you had it all squared away by now. I thought you were going to say I could leave by now.
No, afraid not, Bryson. You haven't even given us a story yet.
Well, I told you I didn't have anything to do with it. It seems pretty obvious I did, and I thought you'd take my word for it.
Can you think of any reason why we should? You lied to us once already, didn't you?
I didn't lie to you. I told you the truth. I didn't break into that church. I didn't have anything to do with it.
On the way in here, we asked you if you'd ever been arrested before, and you told us no. Our record bureau says you're a 2-time loser.
Oh, well, I'm sorry about that, Sergeant. I really am. When you picked me up, I guess I got a little nervous. I didn't mean to lie to you. I was just a little mixed up, I guess.
You got a little time to settle down. You ought to be able to tell us your story now. Just relax and take your time, huh?
Martin? Well, what did the other 2 fellows tell you, Miller and Henderson?
Well, what difference did that make to you?
Well, it might make a lot of difference, Sergeant.
Well, you just tell us your story. That's all we ask. What were you doing at the scene of the burglary? What business did you have there? If you weren't mixed up in it, you got nothing to hide.
I haven't got anything to hide. I just don't want to involve a lot of innocent people, that's all.
Anything you tell us is going to help you, you know that. Now, how about it?
All right, Sergeant. Strictly confidential. Yeah. Well, one of those other fellows you picked up tonight, the dark-haired fella, his name's Miller. Tony Miller. He's engaged to marry my sister.
Yeah, well, said you had to do that.
Well, please, give me a chance.
All right.
I'd like to lay it all out for you. Well, ever since my sister got engaged to Miller, I've been worried about it. I never liked him to begin with. Lately, I've been keeping an eye on Miller, him and that friend of his, Henderson.
Yeah?
I knew they were up to something, and then I read in the paper about that string of church burglaries, the guys breaking into churches, nothing to say.
Yeah.
Well, I had an idea it was Miller and his friend.
How do you mean, Bryson? What made you think it was him?
I had an idea, that's all. I couldn't prove anything. It was just a hunch.
You must have had some reason to suspect him.
Nothing definite, no. I just knew something was wrong, that they were up to something. Well, then, early tonight, I saw a friend of Tony Miller's at one of the bars in the neighborhood. I talked to him a while, and he finally told me that Miller and Henderson were out working a deal. Said they were going to break into a church over on 8th Street and knock over the safe.
Well, how come this friend of Miller's let you in on it?
Well, I guess he thought I was a pretty close friend of Tony's. He knew Tony was going to marry my sister. Anyway, when I found out about it, I got over to that church as fast as I could. I wanted to find Miller and Henderson and try and talk them out of it. I didn't want any guy who was going to marry my sister getting into trouble like that. You know, maybe going to jail for burglary.
No, Miller's been in jail before. I suppose you knew that.
Yeah, I knew it, but that was before he was engaged to my sister.
You met Miller and Henderson outside the church, did you?
No, I was too late. They'd already broken into the place. So I went around the back of the church, and I saw one of the stained glass windows was broken where they'd gotten in. I climbed up on the sill there, and I could see them working inside. It was some kind of a small back room. They were working on the safe, both of them, Miller and Henderson.
That's so. What'd you do then?
Well, I tried to talk them out of it. They wouldn't listen.
Mm-hmm. I suppose you can prove your story. I mean, that friend you met in the bar, the one who tipped you off about the burger, I guess he'd be willing to back up your story.
Well, I'm not sure, Sergeant. He might lie. He might not want to get involved.
How about Miller and Henderson? They'll back it up, won't they? If you weren't involved in the deal, there wouldn't be any reason for them to implicate you, would
Well, Tony Miller thinks it's my fault he's in jail. He hates me. You can't take his word for anything. Probably the first thing he'd do is lie about it, and Henderson, too.
Well, and who you got to corroborate your story?
Well, maybe nobody, but it's the truth. I swear to you it's the truth. I'll tell the same thing in court if I have to. They gotta believe.
You're asking a lot, Matthew.
But that's the way it happened, so help me.
Yeah.
Now, tell me the truth, Sergeant. You know I didn't have a hand in it. If it goes to court, they couldn't convict me, could they? Come on, what do you think?
I think you're a liar. To the working detective, the one logical way to appraise a known criminal is by his record. You estimate him the same way you check a particular make-up automobile, a racehorse, or a radio set, by past performance. By refusing to buy his trumped-up story, we didn't figure that we were doing the suspect, Charles Bryson, an injustice. Bryson was 37 years old. He'd spent 13 of those 37 years in prison, either the county jail or the state penitentiary. His criminal record dated back to the time he was 20 years old. Besides serving numerous shorter terms for lesser offenses in the county jail, Bryson had spent 2 terms in the state penitentiary for burglary. Despite the efforts of the probation officers, the adult authority, and the rehabilitation officials to help him, he seemed content to go along in his criminal career. In this particular case, the series of church burglaries, we had good reason to believe that Bryson and his 2 accomplices, Miller and Henderson, were the guilty men. All 3 of them were booked at the main jail on suspicion of 459 PC. The next morning, Ben and I checked in at the crime lab.
Lee Jones, you around?
Yeah, I'm here. Come on back.
Well, how about that? They gave the place a new coat of paint. Yeah, sure needed it.
Good morning, fellas.
How you doing, Lee?
That set of burglary tools those thieves were using in that church last night. Just finished checking them over. Might have 2 or 3 things for you.
What do you got, Lee?
Have a look over here. You find set of tools, I take it the thieves had a lot of practice.
All 3 of them had records. How about some of the other physical evidence you got, Lee?
One thing at a time, Joe. First of all, these tools here. Small sledge, these 3 jimmy, pinch bar, and a screwdriver. I think we can tie them in with at least 6 of those church burglaries. I think we can do it for certain.
Good enough for 3 convictions?
I think so, if the jury's listening.
Well, how you got it worked out, Lee? Tool markings?
That's part of it, yeah. I want you to take a look at this pinch bar here. They did a lot of their work with this. I guess I don't have to tell you there aren't 2 identical pinch bars in the world that could leave the same exact markings on a piece of woodwork or on a safe.
Yeah.
There aren't a pair of tools in the world that leave the same markings on anything.
Yeah, we know, but can you show a jury positively that the thieves used this pinch bar here on 6 of the jobs they pulled?
That's the idea. I compared specimen markings of every one of these tools against the markings made at the point of entry on 6 of the churches these thieves broke into. In every case, the markings match perfectly. These are the tools that made them, no doubt about it. The screwdriver, the set of windows, and the pinch bar.
Yeah, sure won't hurt our case any. Anything else, Lee?
I examined the end of the pinch bar under the microscope, checked the screwdriver and Jimmy's too. The tips of each one of them are contaminated with particles of paint, different kinds of paint. I've already compared these paint transfers with samples of paint taken from the exterior of those churches that were broken into. Each one of them, they match all the way. The color of the paint, the age, degree of oxidation, the lead content, compares perfect. Now, come over here, something else.
What you got there, Lee?
These are the shoes the 2 men you found inside the church were wearing. These are the foot impressions the boys from Leighton Prince lifted off the floor in front of the safe inside the church.
Yeah, so.
The linoleum on that church floor showed up the dust impressions of the feet pretty good.
Did you make the prints?
The boys from Leighton Prince did, yeah. Good impressions. See here? General size of the shoe, the make, heel impressions, the wear pattern on the sole here, the whole general characteristics of both pair of shoes. Matches up to a T.
How much is that going to mean to a jury, Lee?
Well, it'll mean a lot. It's the truth. The same thing I've been telling you. It's the same thing. I'd like to tell every cop in the department, if you can place an object at the scene of a crime beyond a reasonable doubt, then don't go thrashing around looking for an object that's an exact duplicate. Don't play hawkshaw. Any microscope will tell you there are no 2 things in this world exactly identically alike. I don't care if it's a pair of shoes, a gun, a crowbar, or your 2 front teeth. And that's all lines up for me. Think you're going to have trouble?
I don't know, Lee. We shouldn't have.
You got the 2 of them right at the scene of the crime. That ought to be enough for the court.
Yeah, I hope so.
You don't sound sure.
Well, Lee, there's only one time I'm sure about thieves like Bryson.
Yeah?
When they check him in at San Quentin. 2 days later, Charles Bryson and his 2 accomplices, Henderson and Miller, were arraigned in municipal court on a date set for their preliminary hearing. 4 days later, the preliminary hearing was held, and the 3 of them were bound over for arraignment in Superior Court. In the weeks that followed, before their arraignment and Superior Court trial, Ben and I worked along with the district attorney's office preparing the case against the 3 men, taking statements, running down additional evidence, checking and rechecking, piecing together the facts which we hoped would earn a conviction for each of the criminals. We weren't positive that had happened. The strongest part of our case was going to come out of the crime lab, the testimony of Lee Jones. And we knew as well as Lee did that, generally speaking, juries are not too much in sympathy with scientific fact when it has to do with physical evidence.
Generally, they don't follow technical cases too well. We also knew that the 3 defendants had a good lawyer, a clever one. Getting convictions wasn't going to be easy. The trial opened in Superior Court June 2nd. Ben and I testified when we were called on. On the morning of June 9th, the jury retired to deliberate. Late that afternoon, we got a call from the Hall of Justice.
Yes, Mitty. Yeah. Both of them, huh? I see, Well, that's life, I guess. Yes, sir. Jury's back, Joe. They came up with a verdict.
What's the story?
Henderson and Miller, they found them both guilty of first-degree burglary.
Yeah? What about Bryson?
They let him go.
Well, maybe it was no great shock to us, but after the time and effort we put in on the case, it was a disappointment. The worst of the 3 criminals had been set free. At the trial, Bryson had taken the stand and told the court the same cock and bull story he told Ben and I, that he'd gone to the church, the scene of the burglary, to plead with Henderson and Miller not to commit the crime. Bryson had a good personality and a fast line of talk. It wasn't hard to see how he could convince a jury that he was only an innocent bystander. The biggest obstacle that stood in the way of convicting Bryson was that the prosecution, the district attorney, according to law, could not call to the attention of the jury Bryson's previous criminal record, especially his 2 prior convictions for burglary. To them, because of the limitations of the law, he was presented as a private citizen with as much integrity and as clean of any previous guilt as you or your neighbor. Henderson and Miller were committed to the state penitentiary to serve sentences as prescribed by law, and Charles Bryson, shortly after the trial, left the city. 2 months passed. Saturday, August 8th, I started on my vacation. 2 weeks later, on August 22nd, I checked back in for work.
Hi, Joe. Good to see you.
Hi, Jim. What's been doing?
Oh, not too much. How'd the vacation go?
Oh, pretty good, thanks. Mother and I went up north to visit some relatives up in Marin County. It was a nice trip for her. She hadn't been feeling too well, you know.
Oh, it's too bad. Get any fishing done?
A little, yeah.
That's sure beautiful country up there.
You been around?
No, I took off today. I've been putting in some full days while you've been gone.
Oh, that's all? Anything special doing?
Oh, nothing too big. String of chain store burglaries, south end of town. I've been working along with Ben.
Yeah? Giving you much trouble?
It's been going a couple of weeks. Not getting any better. I begin to feel the pressure a little.
Well, how's it stand? Any leads on the suspect?
Just one.
Yeah?
A guy by the name of Charles Bryson.
When our suspect, Charles Bryson, left Los Angeles after his trial some 3 months before, we had reports that he was headed east for the city of Memphis, Tennessee. In subsequent weeks, we had word that he was also seen in St. Louis, Missouri, where police officers had him under surveillance as a possible suspect in a robbery there. On or about August 10th, the St. Louis police lost track of Bryson. A week later, the newest series of burglaries began throughout Los Angeles. The thief's M.O. matched that of Bryson down to the last detail. The places burglarized were chain stores, supermarkets generally. The method of entry was the same, prying open a back window with a pinch bar or similar tool. The manner in which the safes were opened in the various business places, that matched too. So did 5 sets of foot impressions found at the scene of 5 different burglaries, each of them made by a man wearing tennis shoes. The operation corresponded exactly to the way Bryson worked. But there was one big hitch in the investigation. Nobody could be sure Bryson was back in town. No one had seen him. No one had heard from him. Monday, August 24th, 8 a.m.
Got us running in circles so far, Joe. I can't figure it. I bet lunch money is Bryson, but we can't even start to prove it.
Well, how about the people in town Bryson runs with? They all been checked out?
The one we know about, yeah. His friends, relatives, always know him hang out. We've been over it every inch of the way. If anybody knows, they're not saying. There's no trace of them.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Maybe we're wrong. Go ahead.
What do you mean maybe we're wrong?
Well, the only lead we've got is the M.O. Bryson isn't the only thief who operates that way. It could be another man using the same system.
Yeah, we thought about that.
You ran a check through the stats office?
Yeah, The only known burglars in our records who operate like Bryson are either in jail or out of town or they're dead. We checked it through a couple of times. Keeps coming out the same way. Bryson's the only strong lead we got.
Yeah, but I got it. Burglary Friday. Yes, sir. You know, Sir Sergeant Tabor's out right now. Is there any message? Well, I guess about 10 minutes. Yes, sir. Right. I'll tell him. Thank you. You're sure that the M.O. on all these jobs matches Bryson, huh?
All the way. That's what's got me stumped. If the guy is pulling these jobs and he is in town, somebody should have spotted him. These chain stores he's hitting. We've had stakeouts on him for 10 days. I've got every informant we know watching for Bryson, and not a sign.
Hopefully a minute ago, Jim said they'd call back.
Oh, thanks. Got this teletype this morning. I've done nothing from San Quentin. Might be a line on Bryson.
Let me see.
An answer on that mail watch we asked him for.
What angle's this, Ben?
You remember church burglaries, Miller and Henderson, 2 Lieutenant San Quentin?
Oh, yeah. You asked Clinton for a mail watch on both of them, did you?
I figured there was a chance Bryson might write to him. Looks like it got us a lead.
Well, what have they got there?
Well, it's from the warden's office, and so it says, regarding your request on information concerning Charles Bryson, on August 22nd, Anthony Miller, our number 1721568, received letter from person signing himself George Cameron. Contents of letter suspicious.
Cameron, that mean anything to you? I just checked Bryson's package again down at R&I. Cameron was his mother's maiden name. Bryson's used it as an alias before, quite a few times.
How about the return address on the letter, Ben? Los Angeles?
Main post office, General Delivery.
Monday, 10 a.m. We alerted the post office detail and arranged for a mail watch on all incoming letters through general delivery addressed to Charles Bryson, George Cameron, or to another of the suspect's known aliases. A week passed. No sign of Bryson, no trace of any of his correspondence through general delivery. Another week went by. 2 more chain store burglaries. The M.O. in each case was the same. It matched closely to Bryson's known working habits. But despite our precautions and the close check we maintained on his friends and his known hangouts, the suspect still remained unseen and unheard from. On September 9th, an informant of Ben's called us at the office and told us he thought he'd seen Bryson the night before.
Yeah, Matty, where was that? Yeah, right, we'll check it, thanks. Bye. Bryson's supposed to have been seen there from Martin Beverly Boulevard last night, drinking in a bar up here.
You pretty sure it was Bryson?
He thinks so, yeah. Got the name of the place here. We can check with the bartender, see if he can identify Bryson's mugshot.
Right. I'll get my top coat, huh?
All right.
I'll get it. Burglary Friday. Yes, sir. When was that? Yeah, go ahead. I got it. Yes, sir, right away. Post office detail. Bryson called for a mail at the general delivery half an hour ago.
Where is he? They following?
280 Glenmore, apartment 6. He's there now.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
September 9th, Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. The burglary suspect, Charles Bryson, was placed under surveillance at the apartment where he'd gone immediately after calling for his mail at the general delivery window in the main post office. 3 teams of men were assigned the job of following Bryson alternately, 24 hours a day. We waited for a chance to get into his apartment and search it while it was empty, but it never occurred. Somebody was always there, either Bryson or a tall, dark-haired woman, his common-law wife. During the week that followed, the suspect was watched everywhere he went. He attempted no burglaries. On the 8th day, the stakeout was removed. 3 nights later, 2 burglaries were committed. Both jobs bore the marks of the suspect's M.O., but we couldn't prove a thing against him. We knew the setup we had was going nowhere. If we wanted to get Bryson red-handed, if we wanted a case against him that'd stand up in any court, we had to find a new approach. Lee Jones came up with an idea.
There's a jar of stuff right here. The technical name for it's anthracene. I guess you heard of it?
I think I've heard you mention the name, Lee. That's about all.
Some kind of luminous powder, isn't it? It glows in the dark.
No, not exactly. Here, take a look at some. There, you see? Colorless, odorless, no smell at all to it. It's a coal-tar product. We call it crystalline hydrocarbon.
I see.
Now, here's the point of the thing. When you take this anthracene powder and rub it into the surface of an object, it's completely invisible with naked eye. You never know it's there. Here, let me show you.
How about my coat sleeves?
That'll do. Got the powder all over it. Some in your hand, too. Rub it in, like so. Now, can you see or feel any of the powder where I put it on?
No, nothing there.
Now, let me switch on this lamp here. This is an ultraviolet light. Now, watch when I turn it on your arm, where we rubbed on the powder.
Well, look at your hand, Joe. Like it's lighting up.
Yeah, my coat sleeve, too. It's glowing. How about it? Will this stuff rub off, Lee?
Try it. You're spreading it all over yourself, everything you touch. Anything harmful in it, Lee?
No. Now, watch when I turn the lamp off. You see? Gone. Never even know you had it on. Only time it shows up is under ultraviolet light.
Well, does it stay on you indefinitely, Lee?
No, the maximum is generally about, say, 24 hours.
You guarantee it'll work, huh?
Well, all physics, Joe. Under the proper conditions, it's got to. It's just what I tell my classes up at the academy. Crooks and chorus girls have one thing in common.
Yeah?
They show up better when you put them under the right kind of light.
When we left Lee Jones at the crime lab, we figured we had the potential solution in our hands, but there was still a lot to be done before we could go into any court of law with a case that we were positive was strong enough to convict Charles Bryson. Number one, we had to get into his apartment when it was unoccupied, find the set of burglary tools he was using, and douse them thoroughly with anthracene. The same for the clothes he worked in. Number two, we had to get Bryson into custody within 24 hours after he moved on a burglary job, or the anthracene wouldn't work. Number three, we had to find the loot taken in the burglary in his possession. 10 days passed before we got a chance to make good on the first step.
I get it, Joe. Right. Burglary, Merrill. Yeah, Jim. Good. Fine, we'll be right out. Good break, Joe. And Bryson.
What's that?
They hold him in on a traffic warrant, speeding. Putting him into the main jail right now. Good chance to go through his apartment.
What about his wife? She's still up there, isn't she?
She's on her way to put up bail for him.
Yeah.
Apartment's empty.
By the time Bryson was bailed out, Ben and I, along with Jim Tabor and Lee Jones, had combed through Bryson's apartment and finally uncovered a set of burglary tools and work clothes carefully hidden beneath the floorboards under a kitchen cabinet directly below the sink. Lee Jones contaminated each of the tools with the invisible anthracene powder and also the work clothes. We checked the apartment for any possible loot taken in the burglaries, but we found nothing. We put everything back exactly the way we found it, and then we left and went back to the office. We stood by until 4 a.m. waiting for a call that would indicate that Bryson might be out on another burglary job. Nothing happened. The next night, up until 10 o'clock, it was the same routine. At a few minutes past 10, we got a 459 call on a chain drugstore out on Alvarado Street. Lee Jones had his portable ultraviolet light all ready to go. Ben and I picked him up at the crime lab, and the three of us drove to the scene of the burglary.
Straight back here, Lee. Can I help you with the light?
I can handle it, thanks.
There's the window they figure he got in. Safe there in the corner.
Yeah, there's not too much of it left. You all set, Lee?
You got the extension cord for the light, Romero?
Yeah, right here. I'm just plugging it in. Yeah, okay. All set.
All right, switch it on, will you?
Right.
Well?
Yep.
Seems like it.
What do you got in the window there, Joe? Look at that.
Anthracene tracks all over, foot impressions there, tool marks on the safe, blood prints on the floor, on the wall.
No question. He left plenty of trail.
All right, let's get him. Lee Jones put in a call to the crime lab and ordered a photographer out to take pictures at the scene of the burglary. Lee and the photographer would stay at the scene to gather physical evidence and take pictures of the anthracene prints and markings for presentation in court. 10:52 p.m. Jones packed up the ultraviolet lamp, and Ben and I took it along with us. We drove directly to Bryson's apartment. Nobody was there.
No. Nobody in the bedroom either. How about that?
I don't know. I don't get it. Bryson's had plenty of time to get back here. Over an hour.
And what about his wife? The only time we know she left was when she had to go bail him out in that traffic warrant.
Doesn't look like they pulled out, does it? There's a closet full of clothes in there. A lot of their personal things around.
Yeah. Sure looks like they were expecting to come back. We might check with the apartment house manager. He could tell us if they gave notice to move. Let's see here.
What do you got?
Note here on the desk. See, he says, Charlie, I'm sorry, but I told you it just doesn't work out with us. When you read this, I'll be on my way east. I don't want to be mean with you. I just think it'll work better if we forget each other, that's all. Thanks for everything so long. Signed, Ruth.
Guess she doesn't like him much either.
No. Wait a minute.
What have you done?
Police officers, Bryson. I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
Oh, I know who you are. I remember. What do you want?
Ben, you want to plug in that light?
Yeah, the outlet right over here.
What is all this? You said you wanted to talk to me. What's it all about?
You all set, Ben?
Just a minute. All right, okay, turn it on.
What are you doing? Hey, what are you trying to do to me?
You've done it all to yourself, mister.
Lit up like a Christmas tree, Joe. It's all over in head to foot.
The clothes, your hands. What is it? There's light glowing all over them. What are you doing?
It's a chemical, Bryson. Harmless. Same stuff you left all over the drugstore tonight. Pack up, Ben. Come on, let's go, Bryson.
I don't understand. What's this whole thing all about?
You'll understand it. Here. A note for you.
Oh.
All set, Joe.
Let's go, mister.
I guess I didn't know her. Just a tramp. I guess I should have been smart about it.
Yeah, I guess so. Come on.
How could I know? She said she was in love with me. I believed it. What am I going to say when they ask me? All our friends are all going to ask me. They'll say, what happened to Ruth? I'll say, what happened this time? What am I going to say happened this time?
What are you going to say to the jury this time?
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent. On December 10th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 86, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. Charles Lang Bryson was tried and convicted on 3 counts of first-degree burglary. This is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for not less than 5 years. However, due to his previous convictions on this and other felony counts, Bryson was judged an habitual criminal. He was sentenced to spend the rest of his natural life in the state penitentiary. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.